From the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Dressel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned. Hello, everybody.
Hey, can we do this again?
Yeah. We were applauding ourselves at the beginning. I don't know if you heard that or not. But how is everybody? Everybody have a good weekend? Put it in the chat. Garrett, we are starting to get more people every week.
You know what? I'm going to say what I always say.
What's
I
that?
love it that we're getting more people, but really, this is all for me.
Yeah.
It's just fun for me.
Yeah, me too.
I don't even care about if it's fun for you or not.
Thanks.
Just kidding.
Thanks. All right.
I think it's important that people know that we gave a high five because they heard our intro.
I know. I
love that intro, dude.
I think it went okay, right? Everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did great on that.
Thanks. It's a button I push, and believe me, I can screw it up. All right, let's see some shout-outs. Hello, Pam Doherty Sharp. Who's that? My beautiful wife. That's who that is. She used to be a model for Cosmopolitan, you guys.
Love Pam.
She's a very good-looking lady. Let's say hi to Alley Cat. Alley Cat, and welcome. And there's me, Keith Sharp. Welcome, Keith. And, of course, the lovely cousin Regina. Good evening. Thank you for showing up. Regina was kind of busy today and didn't think she'd have time to do this, so we got her and Pam all keeping an eye on everybody.
Good.
Yeah. All right, so guys, we last week we did a show on Delphi Murders, right, Garrett?
Yes. Very good show.
It was the most successful thing we've done so far as views and people liking. And so Garrett and I decided to do a part 2. There was 2 little girls, I think you saw them at the beginning, who were killed in Evansdale, Iowa. And her name was Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins. And very similar to the way the Delphi girls died. Wouldn't you say, Garrett?
I would say so.
Yes.
I would definitely say so.
So, shall we give a little history? Lyric, 10 years old, had drug-addicted parents, raised by her grandmother and aunt, involved in lots of activities such as cheerleading and gymnastics. She also used to enjoy going to the bowling alley. She attended Kingsley Elementary School in Evansdale and was involved with her church. Elizabeth was 8 years old. She had more stable home life, Garrett.
They were cousins.
They were cousins. Their moms were sisters, and one sister had a little drug problem, the other one not.
Yeah.
So she loved talking and was usually the last to finish eating because she talked all through her meals, is what she said. We know a few little girls like that, don't we?
Yes, we do.
But the girls were close in the same age, and they loved playing cards and riding bicycles. And unfortunately, riding bicycles has led to a horrible tragedy with these two. So shall we give a little history on this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, hey, I think it's important to say too, because you and I did the Delphi thing, and it was really interesting. It's bringing awareness. Obviously very sad for both families. Right?
Horrible.
And the communities.
Yes.
Because you have daughters, I have daughters, and kids, and
Nothing's coming through.
Oh man, we've been having a great show.
Oh, we've been having a great show, but they're saying no one's coming through.
Being a model for Cosmopolitan magazine.
Of course not.
She missed all that part.
Damn it.
Of course not.
Hey, my lovely wife says we're not coming through an audio.
She said, I like her.
What?
Jaggy C said, I'm multitasking tonight, and Pamela said, apparently the fellas are too.
So can you guys hear? Pam says she can't hear us. Can you guys hear us at all? Because if not, I got to fix that. And what's horrible? I can hear you, Alley Cat says. Yes! Pam, take your mute off your computer. Can everybody else? Alley Cat says she can hear us. How about Jackie C? All sounds and looks good. I hear you. Okay, have you guys heard the whole show? My wife popped her head in here and said, there's no sound. Yep, okay, good. Hey, Bonnie. Bonnie, how's it going?
Bonnie?
All right.
Hey, so what I was saying was that
No one cares what you have to say.
Well,
Garrett.
I care. Again, I'm a
Go
selfish
ahead.
bastard.
No.
Well, it was so
One day I'll get rid of him and it'll be my show.
Obviously, feel for the families, the communities.
Yeah.
We can relate, and everything like that. And so that's when you started telling me about the Evansdale kind of in advance when we're preparing for Delphi. And so I'm glad that we were able to circle back around and do this. So
Yeah, me too. You know, it just feels good bringing awareness to, I mean, who knows, because this killer could have been a truck driver, for instance. And
could be a total stranger.
yeah, out of our people, who knows? Maybe they've never heard of this case and they see a picture like of the bridge guy and they go,
Right.
hey, I know that guy.
Right.
That's probably how he's going to get caught.
Well,
Someone
and-
eventually is going to recognize him,
Yeah,
or
for
it's
sure.
going to be a family member, I think, who says,
live with it
I
anymore."
can't live with this anymore. I've got to rat him out.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that like with Delphi, they're sorting through like 60,000 leads, something crazy. But in Evansdale, it's not like that. I think they have like 1,800 leads,
Really?
which obviously there's a picture and voice with Delphi, and
Yeah, can you imagine going through that many? I mean, and especially like Delphi is a small community.
right.
Like I said, a population of 3,000. So that police
Same with Evansdale.
that police
yeah.
department's not big, right?
Right,
So
right.
they've
outside resources.
the manpower. I mean,
Yeah.
of going through all that, I can't imagine how
So
they're doing
I'm-
that. Or
Yeah. So I'm glad we circled back around with the Evansdale, and it's also intriguing some of the connections that the two cases have. So.
it's interesting, and man, it's about time they solve this case. I think if they solve it, I'll say this anyway. I think if they solve Delphi, they'll solve the Evansdale.
I agree.
I think there's too many similarities. There's not a whole lot of people who go out and just target little children between the ages of 8 and 14.
Yeah, I
right?
saw a little bit of research where that's obviously
It's low,
super rare,
super rare.
like 1%, 0.1%, something
Yeah.
bad. And then also the cases in that area between 2005 and like 2000. No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. There was like 3 cases maybe, 3
Yeah.
cases. Zion, Delphi,
Yeah, it's a super rare thing to have.
Evansdale.
Right. So and we'll talk about some of the similarities after we talk about this history, but there's a lot of them. And we'll talk about the suspects. And man, I know we talked about Charles Eldridge last week, but now I don't know.
I know.
After hearing some new evidence, and I will there's a couple of YouTube guys that I got some information from, and of course I'll be giving them credit. Anywho, so on July 13th, 2012, the girls had been dropped off at their grandma's that morning. Both went for a bike ride. All right. After a couple hours, Lyric's mother became worried and started contacting Lyric's friends, and at 2:45, she reported them missing to the police. The girls were spotted on Gilbert Drive, not far from Myers Lake, by a witness. At 4 p.m., the girls' bicycles were discovered on the bike trail at Myers Lake, along with Lyric's purse. Now, you said the purse. Now, this I must have skipped over. You said the purse was not with the bike. It was
thrown over the fence. So the bikes were found on the trail side. So there's a trail, and then there's a fence, and then there's the lake.
okay.
And so the bikes were found on the trail side, and the purse had been thrown or tossed or something over onto the lake side.
Wow. Yeah. I missed that.
Which I find, anyways, if you're going to leave the bikes behind, what good does it? Do they? That they're going to find the purse. So
Yeah.
there may have been a struggle of some sort. So, but we'll talk about that.
true.
We'll talk about that.
Law enforcement That's reason, Garrett. I'm going to let you read the next page, okay?
Nope.
This will be so
I
silly.
don't know how to read.
No, it's your turn.
I don't know how to read. Go ahead.
Don't listen to him. Okay, law enforcement looked all over the lake along with hundreds of volunteers, and the search lasted for several days. Now, security footage showed the girls riding away from Myers Lake at 12:11 p.m. No other businesses had any footage of the girls. So basically, they just found one business, had a security camera, and I think they said that it actually lasted like 1 second
Right. Yeah.
of the girls just going
Boom.
and
Yeah.
leaving. So both girls' parents were both looked at. Lyric's mother and father had legal problems, and the following year, Lyric's father, Dan Morrissey, was sentenced to 90 years for having a meth lab in his house and selling meth. It was also proved that this had been going on even before Lyric's disappearance. So this guy, not a good father.
No, he wasn't.
Not a good role model whatsoever.
Well, I think that's why she was raised by the grandparents, or right there, and the aunts.
Right,
kind of
right.
Like, it's kind of like a
I
family
think
thing.
her grandma's name was Wilma.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the aunt's name was, but yeah.
Good girl though.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Good girl.
absolutely. So let's see, where are we at? Authorities started looking at some local sex offenders and
All of them.
was able to clear every one of them.
Yeah.
And you would think it'd have to, I mean, especially sex offenders, same town, got to be one of them,
Right.
right? But all of them cleared. But how do you, I mean, a fake alibi would do it.
Yeah, I would.
If you get a wife to lie for you,
Yeah.
you know, so who knows? Anyway, where was I at here? On 12/6 of 2012, two hunters hunting at Seven Bridges Wildlife Park found the remains of what looked to be two young persons. The remains were skeletons, and it was confirmed on 12/10 that the remains were Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins. So they did.
7 months later.
Was it 7? It's not 7 months, is it?
I think it was 7 months.
July, August, September, October, November, December. 5 months.
Oh, 5 months. Okay.
5 months.
Oh, so December. I got you.
And he went to West Point, you guys.
5, 7. Tomato.
Okay. So anyway, a year later, a witness stated that they had seen. Now this is going to come in. This is going to be important later.
Right.
A year later, a witness stated that they had seen a white SUV, possibly a Ford Bronco or Chevy Suburban, located at what the police think was the abduction site at Myers Lake. And when I read that, I thought, why did it take a year before
Right.
someone?
Right. Yeah.
But I found out that it got lost in the shuffle.
Yep. I think it was
is what it sounded like.
I think it was like one that came in the immediate aftermath of the search.
Yeah.
When they're right? Is that when
And it was something about that someone had thought that the tip had got turned in or something, and they thought it was already known.
Okay, yeah.
And
Right.
And then
Okay,
it was,
yeah.
I believe it was followed
Yeah.
up on, and then they found out, oh, it's a white. Man, can you imagine had they had that information that early, which they probably wouldn't have released it, because
Right, oh, yeah,
if you
for
do,
sure.
then that guy's getting rid of the Bronco.
Yeah.
But if this guy was from out of town, then
Right.
you know, kind of really wouldn't have mattered, right? So let's move on. Let's talk about some similarities in the two cases. Both cases involved young females between the ages of 8 and 14, and like Garrett said, super rare. So for you to have, how far is Delphi? Do you know, from Evansdale? I don't know.
I don't know, but I sent you that map last night. I mean, it's quite a drive.
It's
but
a ways.
there's a highway.
And you've got some interesting stuff a little bit later about St. Louis, right?
Right.
Which would
right.
tie in our other suspect
Yes,
that we were thinking
yes.
about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So if Pam or Jaggy, if you want to look up the distance between Evansdale and Delphi. Is that what I said?
Yep.
Girls went missing while together as a duo. The girls were murdered while together, which indicates either a proficient criminal or more than one offender. You know, I don't know, one guy had to be really good
Oh, 100%.
to pull off, you know, both of these murders.
Efficient.
Yeah, I mean, and had this. Do you think this was a spur of a moment? He's just driving
No.
around, looking, and goes, "Oh, there they are."
See, I told you.
How would that work, though?
I've told you before that for some reason I feel like that these three people in both cases were there for a reason. Maybe it's an encrypted app of some sort. Maybe, you know, I feel like we do have the technology to be able to really negate a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But maybe we don't. Maybe there's a way that they were there for a reason. So because, man, for nobody, I mean, I get it with the Evansdale a little bit more because it was, you know, secluded, but with Delphi, you know, people are out there, people are around. So
Yeah.
I mean, to get in, to get out, to do the job.
He had to
and
plan. You think he had to
I
plan this
think-
then
yeah,
for sure?
Yeah. I don't think it was just because the reason why you bring up kind of the drug addict parents is because people have tried to tie in, you know, maybe this was like a hit of some sort. Maybe they owed, it was a debt that was paid.
That was
I just don't find that
Yeah,
credible at all.
I don't either. And that was definitely a rumor that was going around that there was some drug money owed by one of the Delphi girls' dads, and I'm not going to say. I mean, you can figure that one out. And because of that, the daughter was killed. Now, not even the mafia will kill your daughter
Right.
if you owe money. So I really doubt that's the
Well,
whole point
and
of
can
it.
we just point out that like a meth head, unless it was like a cartel kind of thing, like the common low-level meth head that you ripped off isn't going to pull off a crime like this
No.
and not get caught.
No.
Like,
No.
they're just not going to. To me, this is meticulous. This is planned out. Even the
was.
Delphi thing, like, and there's bridges, right? So like in you had to cross the bridge. And I believe in Evansdale, I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe there was a bridge that they had to cross at some point, something like that. Is that these were specific locations that somebody had thought out to where you're trapping them?
Yeah, and that's
Almost.
exactly, and that's the similarities too that we'll get to in just a
Right.
minute of both, state parks,
Right, yeah.
secluded, So let's move on.
Yeah.
See what we got here. And if I read the same one twice, don't be mad at me.
Forget about it.
Forget about it, will you? All right. Other similarities. All were heading off to play or hang out together when they went missing. Lyric and Elizabeth were riding bikes. Libby and Abby were walking on a wooded trail. The bodies were all found in areas a hunter might frequent. That's kind of good to know.
Right.
Both sets of girls went missing shortly after 2 p.m. Lyric's grandmother last saw the girls around 12:20 p.m. and reported them missing around 2 p.m. The Snapchat photo of Abby was taken at 2:07, and the photo of the bridge guy was taken at 2:30. The girls were supposed to be picked up at 3:15 and were reported missing at 5:30. So something you brought up earlier, I think
Yeah.
off air, was it was around. He kind of did this around the same time,
Between 1 and 3.
between 1 and 3.
Which-
and when your definite or your theory was what again?
My theory was that, like, and again, I'm thinking about my own kids here because I let Kennedy, now Kennedy, actually, she had kickboxing tonight. She does jiu-jitsu. So I'm
Right.
making sure she's prepared for hopefully if this scenario comes up, she's going to kick someone in the nuts. Fucking run.
Run.
No, run. But with her, like, if she goes on a bike ride, which she does, for me, I'm like, okay, it's been a while, but you know what? It's the afternoon. It's light outside. There's people around. And so I feel like that this was almost a specific time that this guy picks, thinking, okay, Lyric and Elizabeth, is that her name? Elizabeth, right?
Yep, you're
Lyric and Elizabeth, they went out on a bike ride. Maybe they got lost. Maybe they're just having fun. Give them a little bit more time.
So it gives the
Cushion.
perpetrator a little cushion to get away
Yeah.
because they're going to think,
Right.
the,
Well, and a lot of people are at work,
Right.
And so,
if you think about it, you're right. It would be a good time to do
it's
something
like a
like
turkey
that.
shoot. Yeah.
Right, because the parents are usually going to be at work, and
It's easy to write off. Yeah.
right, and you say, the kids will be back by 5, or something
So it
like
almost
that.
makes me believe that, this person is maybe even a parent of some sort, which also ties back into the Delphi thing, the way he talked. Hey, guys. Guys.
Yeah.
I say it all the time. Guys, get down from there. Guys, come over here. Guys, do this. And
Right.
so that kind of knowledge, that's only something I think a parent would think of, though.
Do you think coach? Maybe, or now I know that's not one of the suspects, but do you?
Right.
We don't know who it is.
Right.
It could be someone totally off the radar.
I think it has to be somebody that is either around kids or has kids to think about that aspect of it. Because that's what
Right.
made me think of it. Is like Kennedy. Whenever I saw the timing, I was like, oh man,
because
we work from home a lot,
because there
right?
is a definite difference between someone who's not around kids and someone. Because I used to have a friend.
100%.
He had no idea how to act around kids.
Yeah. I have friends like that.
He didn't know.
Yeah,
he had no idea what to call them. It wasn't even
Yeah.
guys. He just kind of looked at them with a deer in a headlight look. And, But when you have, hey guys, it sounds
Yeah.
like a principal. It sounds like your teacher. It sounds like someone in authority.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody that's got people underneath them. Yeah.
Right. So I wonder, and one thing I don't think we've looked up is these suspects we talked about last week. What did they do for a living?
Well, one of them was a preacher, fake one.
Yeah, that's true. That was Thomas Bruce.
Yeah. But
True.
that's a good point. The other one was a security guard,
Yeah.
which,
And this one's kind of weird. Maybe. But the dates. Both cases occurred on the 13th day of the month and bordered a weekend, Friday and Monday.
and you mentioned that in our last episode.
Yeah. And is there any personal significance for him to the teens or middle of the month? And does he have a 3-day weekend? So, you'd be off Friday, so you'd have 3 days to kill, which sounds horrible. And forgive me, I'm not laughing. It's just,
Yeah. You're trying to solve this.
Yeah, I hope we do.
Yeah.
Law enforcement. I hope law enforcement does it. But yeah, so or Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, and
That's a theory. Or
but was there a 3-day weekend holiday during those times? I mean, because because no one gets off for Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah.
So
July 4th, and then what?
Yeah, July 4th. Yeah, and you don't get a 3-day weekend for that.
You don't
either.
get a 2-week because that was the July 13th, right?
Right. So I mean, which also makes it weird because it was Friday the 13th.
Right.
So
one thing
with people trying to say that there's maybe a cult was involved in this
because they each equal 32.
Yeah. So if you add up, that's another thing, guys. If you add up the dates, they all equal up to 32. What does that mean?
I don't know.
No idea.
Here's my theory though because when you first said that in the last episode, I was kind of like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then whenever you mentioned it again, I was like, oh, wait. And we started kind of like the more that the similarities were kind of adding up, it's like, okay, so let's look into it even a bit more. Now we know that it's on before a weekend or after a weekend. Right. To me, that was highly intriguing because it's almost like, hey, we're going to do this and I'm going to be able to get out of here over the weekend. They'll be working all weekend looking for this.
Right.
Well, during the madness, I'm going to boop or, I have all week. I don't know. Because you're going to get into maybe some processing plants around there, some truckers. And so that kind of fits in for me.
Some of that was really, I had,
with maybe a trucker type situation.
I've got my buddy Randy, who's a trucker. And Randy, if you're out there, say hello. Because I do have a question for you as a truck driver. There's something that sounded a little crazy to me that I read and don't know if it's quite routine. And if you're out there, say hello and let me know. And then if there's any other truckers out there, maybe they can. Well, if Kathy Owen, she would know, right? And I don't know if Kathy's out there either.
Hey, 200. So we're getting some of these. I mean, dude, 250, 320 miles away between Delphi and Evansdale.
Okay,
that's nothing.
But it's kind of a drive.
I don't know. I drive everywhere. I hate to fly.
Yeah.
For me, that's nothing. Hey, if you're a measured and planned killer, it's nothing.
That's true.
Or if you live in St. Louis, can somebody look up and find what the distance between St. Louis and Delphi and St. Louis and Evansdale is? That would be really helpful.
Yeah. Did you? I thought you did that.
No, I didn't.
I just saying it looked like a triangle on a map.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, trails, which we kind of talked about, is Libby and Abby and Lyric and Elizabeth all disappeared while on a trail in the afternoon. In both cases, the girls were murdered by an unknown assailant. Causes of death for Libby and Abby has not been publicly released, but 2 photos of sketch of a possible suspect and a brief audio clip of his voice has been released. Cause of death for Lyric and Elizabeth also has not been released. So they kept tight lip on this case as well. Do they normally do that? I mean, because it seems like most cases that you find that are somewhat serious, they'll say, victims died from bludgeoning, stabbed to death,
right,
shot. But for some reason, or is this something they do because it's little kids?
No, I mean, because little kids drown. Oh, God, I hate to even say that.
Well, I know, but
you know what I'm saying? Like,
but I'm talking about a murder of a child. Can you think of one right off the hand where the child was murdered?
Did they say how Jean Benet was?
Yeah, they did. They went into. I mean, and the thing was, and the whole reason they're not doing it with Libby and Abby and the girls from Evansdale is because it was like they had no suspects whatsoever, and they're afraid of false confessions, so they didn't want to release it.
Yeah, but
they didn't really with the other one.
No,
right?
Well, no. I think they have since.
Yeah, but it's still kind of unsolved.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's unsolved.
Right, but they talked. I remember them talking about the garage, and the girl was strangled.
Right.
So
my thing is like, with serial killers. They love it, right? Like the attention, right? They're sitting back, I think, right? Isn't that? I mean, a lot of them are intrigued by.
I bet some of them are watching some of the top Delphi YouTube channels.
I bet, yeah. And so part of me thinks that they don't want to give them what they want, and secondly, it's so unknown about who did it. There's certain things about how this happened that only the cops, the people that found them, and the killer know.
Yep.
And they don't want everybody to water that down and to, you know what I'm saying, sabotage that one connection they have with the killer.
I do understand. I mean, but I think that most people's complaints right now are we're going on 4 years. If there's, and if you want the people's help, you got to give us more to go on.
Right.
But I can understand, you really don't need to know how they were
died.
killed.
I mean, the fact that 2 girls both died in both of these scenarios, like the comparisons you're drawing, the parallels, to me, that's enough to kind of like if we keep it alive, keep the awareness alive. And, for me, that's enough to like tie it in. I don't think like the way they actually died is necessarily something that like you and I need to know. I mean, right?
Well, unless I guess the only way it would help, it wouldn't even help. It'd be okay. We know the guy had a knife. We know the guy had a gun.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, what help would that be? Not really much.
Yeah. And I mean, the theory that you said, because we're talking about controlling 2 people at once, even if it's an 8 and a 10-year-old, even if it's 12 and a 14-year-old or a 13 and 11-year-old,
I think it
has to be a gun, dude.
Had to been a gun. Because I think with a knife, they would have
bolted, man.
And they may have bolted. I mean, that's another theory is that the girls bolted, and he chased them down across that Deer Creek and murdered them on the other side.
It is very heavy terrain. But you would also have to be pretty fit. Like in the...
Oh, dude, I was watching, a couple of important YouTubers who do this. The terrain, I mean, this guy had to have been in shape, but if you look at the bridge guy, he looks overweight. He looks like he's in his 50s. He doesn't look like he could be running up and down embankments.
Well, doesn't it sound like he would have something like guys down the hill?
Yeah.
Guys down the hill. Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the only way he could, I think a lot of people thought about that. How can you control 2 teenage girls? I mean, he had to have a gun.
You had to.
With a knife, I think they probably would have took off. So I do believe he had a gun.
One of the 4.
Yeah.
And then here's a scenario you run into, though. And this is why, again, this guy is very calculated, is because he gets them into these places geographically, right? Mm-hmm. He has them cross over tough terrain, maybe, setting a meeting point. But he's not going to chase one down, do the job, and then dude, that takes time and evidence and
absolutely. And that's what I kind of talked about.
It's so cleaned up
last week a little bit. Had the girls, and of course, like I said, they were small, they were scared. They could have got away, and God, I mean, forgive me for saying that, but because I don't want to sound horrible, but if they would have split up, even if he had a gun, he's going to panic.
Yeah.
He can't chase one because the other one's getting away.
Right.
He's got to get out of there, right? So he can't fire the gun. I don't think he had any intention of firing the gun. I think he used that as a prop to get control of the girls.
Yeah.
Right? So he's not going to fire because there was actually, I think there was about 3 to 5 people at the park when this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Well, and I've had a gun pointed at me before.
Have you really?
And my dad was actually telling me a story about he had a gun pulled on him. And he was like, we were both like in our 20s. And both times, they were both by cops. It's a long story. But hey, whenever you have a gun pointed at you, like my dad was like, hey.
We're live, right?
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, but it was, because you get into these situations where like you're in a scuffle or something and the cops show up and it's crazy and they're like, hey, like they're, back in the day it was like a little bit different, right?
They controlled the situation.
Yeah. They controlled the situation. There weren't body cams. And so even my dad was saying, though, like, hey, immediately when that cop pulled a gun, he was like, okay, I'm done. Okay, stop.
Right.
So even as like a 20, maybe he was a bit younger. Let's say he was 16. Even as a 16-year-old rambunctious guy teenager, still got his attention. So for me, that weapon of choice would be really important because he probably never intended to fire it. But he knew.
No, of course.
Yeah, he knew that was a great control mechanism.
That's probably the only thing he could use to get 2 teenage girls
where
to do
he
what he
knows
wants.
in his head 100% this is going to work. This
right.
is going to work.
Right. And by the way, let me look here. I just thought I saw Paula Hammond, thank you so much. Evansdale to St. Louis is 333 miles. Thank you. Thanks, Paula. Appreciate that.
Hey, I like Best Buy. What she said, he or she. If one girl gets scared for the other, they wouldn't run, knife or a gun. Now, that's a great point. That's
Yeah.
a great point, especially if you're cousins and or best friends. But it's not certain. There's no certainty in that.
Well, right. I mean,
Fight or flight.
yeah.
Right? Like that. That's
Well, and that's
it's
kind of
within all
something
us.
that's been said that that neither one wanted to leave each other's side.
100%. I get
And,
that. Yeah.
and that's true. So what I said about the gun, I mean,
But this guy's
if it would have been my buddy,
man.
yeah,
This guy's calculated.
I know.
Like he's going based off certainty.
Right.
They're way more certain if he's carrying a gun. They're not going to run anywhere.
yeah, true.
So,
All right, and the last similarity we have investigators have.
knife.
I'm sorry.
this could be a knife, though. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
well, that's true. I mean,
We don't know.
yeah, we just don't know. Investigators have stated that they have compared notes on the Delphi and Evansdale cases, and while there are similarities, they do not believe the cases are related. Despite this, they have also said that they do not suspect the families in either case, which means there are two brazen murderers willing to abduct, control, and murder two girls at a time. That is quite an unusual and risky MO. And I totally agree. I mean, even the mileage between those two, man, that's still rare. To have
Very
someone to kill, and especially two little girls. So what are your thoughts as far as, do you think, from what you've read and everything, that it is the same guy who committed the Delphi murders?
I do, personally. I do.
Yeah, I do too.
And because you know how much I'm into the first 48. I've been watching that for 15 years. Like I really do. Like I'm intrigued by the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that if there was a meeting place, that they would know that by now, and they'd be able to track that down. But in both of these places, there's very few cell towers. Okay, which I think is interesting.
Uh-huh.
I just think it's really random that two girls and one guy met in those locations at the same time, twice. Like, I just think that's really unlikely. I don't.
It is.
Like, it has to be very unlikely. So, it's definitely a lot of the similar MOs.
Well, I've got some slides here, and if they'll work. Okay, and of course now there was two of these, right? There was one for $50,000. Now it's went up to $150,000. I don't know how old this one is. And the reason I say that is because it says, for information leading to the arrest and prosecution of the persons responsible for the disappearance of Elizabeth Collins and Garrett Cook. I would think it would say responsible persons for the disappearance and murder,
Right.
But it doesn't say that. So I don't know, man. Okay, and so these are the two little girls, just cute as can be, just out doing their thing, man.
Innocent.
Yeah, and so I'm going to blow this up for me because I can't read it very well. But these are just kind of some little timelines. So if you look at number one, it says 166 Bravin Boulevard. The girls are being watched by their grandmother at the Collins house, and it shows the Collins house right there, which is just right off a Riverfront Road. And then the second, it says 3524 Lafayette Road. The girls are seen at 12:15 p.m. behind Lederman's Big and Tall clothing by their grandmother. And then we come down to Community Response Center. Hundreds of volunteers meet to aid in the hunt for the missing girls. The search comes up empty, as does dragging of Myers Lake. And number four, two bicycles are found on the Evansdale Nature Trail about 4:15 p.m. Elizabeth's purse is found on the lake inside of the fence. Now, man, how risky is that? If you're in a vehicle, you stop, and you're asking two girls. I mean, obviously, I doubt do you think he forced them in the car? Did you think he tempted them with something or asked them he needed help?
Man.
What do you think?
In Evansdale specifically, it's hard to say because they say there were very few clues around. Although they did come up with a vehicle later. I don't know. I just don't know how he got them in there. I thought it was interesting that the purse was thrown on the lake side.
Right.
And the bikes were on the trail side.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously didn't want to take anything with him. Right.
Yeah.
Like cell phone or anything like that, anywhere they could track it.
Right.
But did he throw it? Because I just feel like he would say, toss it over there. Because
unless it just depends.
Or was there a struggle? I mean, that's the only other way. There's 2 ways that the person ends up over there.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
3 ways,
in either
really.
way, it's so risky. I mean, it's so risky either way.
Right.
You've got to get these kids in that car quickly before someone comes driving around the corner, because someone would have saw these 2 girls getting in. So
Right.
that's the crazy thing about this crime is nobody saw him get these 2 little girls in his vehicle.
Right. I mean, that's why I also think it was super planned out. Like and he probably has practice doing it.
What about let's say, is there a chance they could have rode their bikes to the trail, left their bikes, went into the trail, kind of played around, and then he went in there and got them? But then again,
Why would the purse be?
that's still risky, and and I don't know.
Got him to stop the bikes
Yeah,
somehow.
and so we know. I mean, Delphi, same thing, very risky. Afternoon time, you're murdering 2 girls. You're in a state park. It just, how do you? God, I don't know.
Man, the thing
It
that
makes no sense.
The thing that makes me think that this guy is, he's done it probably before.
Mm-hmm.
So he's experienced. B, he's very methodical and planned out. Is because for me, like because my business partner, everything with him, it's always about risk, right, and reward. And so when I'm looking at this, sometimes I'm looking at the details of this case. I'm thinking, okay, very, very low risk of people being out on a Friday or a Monday, besides kids, okay, at these places, unless they're retired old people, right? Most people are going to be working.
Yeah,
At this time.
still a risk though.
It's still a risk, but he is obsessed. He wants it. He's planned for it, right? He's prepared for it. So he's willing. He's minimizing the risk, though, in a way. He has to minimize it. Like, there's no way he gets away with 2 young girls any other time, I don't think, without somebody seeing them. When people are off work, driving around town. When, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and and one picture I've never seen, I looked for it, was there's no pictures that I know of the bicycles.
Oh, that's interesting.
I've looked, and if anybody out there knows that there is, put a link in the chat, and we'll check it out. But I looked and looked, couldn't find a picture of the bicycles like outside the trail or whatever.
Right. So you go around this town where we live.
Yeah.
After the lunch rush and like before school gets let out or whatever. I mean, the streets are pretty, like you can just drive around town. It's no big problem. You go like, during lunchtime. I was out during lunchtime today and I was like, holy cow, dude, it is brutal trying to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, from like 1 to 3, because I had to go pick up the kids at school, easy breezy, dude. 5 minutes to get where I needed to get.
Yeah.
So I just think it's an easy way to get in and out without getting seen. And he knows he's not going to get them out there at night.
Right.
He wants little girls. That's what his MO is. So that's why
That's still crazy. I mean, just wow.
Yeah.
I mean, because you would have to pick him up on the side of the road. There's I don't know, man. He must have got
He's a
super lucky.
psychopath.
Well, I know, but I mean, just super lucky for him that no one was coming around the corner when he got these kids in the car or saw him talk. I mean, because somebody in a small town like that would have saw him getting them in the car, you would think. So he must have timed it just right, got them in the car, boom, gone.
Has to.
Had to. Okay, here's just an aerial view I did on a Google search. This is Myers Lake right here. And I know you can't see my arrow, but if you look onto the left side, there's an entrance right here, because I kept thinking, well, how did they get in there? But if you look around, there's kind of a bike trail, looks like. So I think they said it was at the beginning of the entrance where they found the bikes. So next one. And this is Myers Lake. Some of the searchers looking. They were going to drain the lake, and I think they did a little bit.
Yeah, they did to an extent.
Yep. And another picture of Myers Lake. And then here's some volunteers that were out looking for the girls.
Yeah, the community really.
Yeah.
Both of these.
And this is 15 miles. If you look down towards the end, it says Seven Bridges County Park. That's where they found the bodies, and they were taken from Myers Lake, so they were transported there. Do you think he killed them in the car?
Whew,
Or took them to a place? I mean, we don't know how they died. If it was gunshot, he could have shot both of them in the...
Well, have you heard about anything as far as restraints go?
What do you mean?
Like, were restraints used or found? Have you heard?
Oh, no, they haven't said anything. They didn't say anything.
I thought I had heard something about that.
Oh, did you hear that there was restraints?
I felt like I did. I was asking you. I didn't know, because that would be something that would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Just because then that says, okay, if you're going to kill them right when you get in the car, there's no need to restrain them.
Right. Right. But I mean, just think of even having 2 girls in your car, not jumping out at a stoplight. How do you see? That's why sometimes I think there's 2 people involved in this.
See, yeah, Bonnie was actually saying that.
I mean,
Dude, do you know how hard it is though to commit a crime this?
Well, can you imagine convincing someone that you're going to kill little girls?
Hey, listen, Columbine though, that's 2 dudes with this weird, like they just kind of went down this path together, and so I mean, it's not unheard of. But it is it's extremely, 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 extremely rare. You have to be completely on the same page with this person about everything.
Yeah, true. And then here's a picture.
I mean, look how hard it is for us to run a damn show.
Yeah. And these are where the bodies, I guess these are sheets covering each body. They were placed apart from each other.
Oh, so they got that photo from the chopper or something?
Yeah, that was a chopper photo. And then back to that. So let me ask you, Garrett, do you think that could this have been a cult type of thing?
I don't think so.
Could the cult?
It could be. It could be. We don't know. Do I think it was? No. But could it be? Yes.
Right. Wow.
I mean, I still think that because there's still some more similarities that we're going to get to that even more ties in these 2 cases.
Yeah.
That we're just so relevant. But they say that the two investigative teams have spoken, and the FBI has been involved, and they're not really saying if it, if they're.
But do you say? I mean,
would you say?
Well, I mean, I think it's because maybe there's some detectives who think there's similarities, probably. But the thing is, they have no suspects for either one of them,
right?
So they really can't say they're connected. Technically, they can't say they're connected
unless the bodies were posed. Unless, like you were saying,
well, and was the FBI at the Evansdale murder?
They were. But not until later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I mean, we could find out, but I do know that they were involved, and probably some of that maybe have been just because it was a missing persons case for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like they found the Delphi girls pretty early on. That's why I think that was so weird because the FBI will be involved in a missing persons case. Yeah,
they said the Evansdale girl. If you looked at that picture, the grass was dead. It was in the wintertime when they found them. But when it was during the springtime stuff, the grass was yay high.
Right, yeah.
And they said it'd been easily to even walk a few feet and not seen these bodies.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I think it's interesting that they haven't released any cause of death. Very few details on the way the murders happened. Obviously, they don't know how the murders exactly happened, but I guarantee you. I mean, you've seen these shows. These investigators, they go in, they look at the scene, they have where the killing took place, they believe, and this and that. They have a good idea just by looking at even the bodies and the autopsies of how these things happen. So I find it pretty interesting.
Hey, Garrett, we have a girl in the chat room. Alana Hines says, I helped look for the girls when they went missing. Whoa. Alana, was that the Evansdale girls? And we got a 15-second delay, so I'm just let's see. And did anything really jump out at you during the search? They say.
Yep, they do.
Yeah, so that would be. Is it Evansdale? I'm assuming she's talking about that one.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, Lana, let us know if that's Evansdale search you were involved in. That's very interesting. And Alley Cat is asking Alana, is it Alana or Alana? Do you think the cases are related? That'd be interesting to see what her take is. And wondering if she lives in Evansville or if she came, from a neighboring city or something to look.
Evansville.
It was Evansville?
Evansdale, Evansdale. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I just don't feel they are linked. Ivy Push says she don't think they're linked. Appears that whoever killed Libby and Abby, one of them found.
may have been in our
And Atlanta does say yes, the Evansdale girls. Yeah. Interesting. Atlanta? Do you live in Evansdale, or did you? Are you when you're in a neighboring city? You just came and helped out. But Garrett Ivy Push brought up a good point.
Yep. Well, the terrain also was a bit more difficult. I mean, to get two girls from the Delphi location back to a vehicle would have been extremely risky.
Very risky. And one thing I got to say, Ivy Push is with just laying the girls flat on the grass, he may have thought they could have been found easy. Mm-hmm. Possibly, I don't know. But
hey, both on near or on hunting grounds as well.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
fishing.
and what's weird is, I mean, but like, can you hunt over in the area is close to a highway?
yeah, for sure.
I mean, maybe bow hunting, but I don't know about guns. She says I live in Waterloo, but only about 5 minutes from Myers Lake. Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's and that's what I read about Evansdale is that there's Waterloo, there's 2 or 3 larger communities, like kind of like Mustang, like, and this was just kind of like a quaint little, so there's a lot of population around there.
Yeah.
Like Waterloo has a pretty large population.
True. So what about the Packers thing? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, go for it.
The meat plant. No, go ahead.
I think I was hoping that Randy was going to...
I got to grab something, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it.
Garrett will entertain you.
I will entertain you.
Let him entertain you. I'll be right back, people.
Okay, I'll just keep talking. Let me read some of these while you...
Yeah.
I'm just reading what you guys are writing here. There's a little bit of a delay. I finally got set up here. So a lot of you probably don't realize I don't have an active Facebook. I don't really get on YouTube much. And so this is really exciting for me to watch as you guys are talking about this. It's very interesting. You guys are all coming up with very good points. Here in a second, we're going to talk about the location of some meatpacking plants that are near both crime scenes and where these events happen. And then also in regards to the truck driving side of things, and that's why I think Keith wanted Randy to kind of chime in. If I'm not mistaken, Keith was going to talk about the amount of wait time between, like, if you're a trucker and you're going to the meat packing plant, to pick up meat or to drop something off. At times you would have to wait at these locations somewhere up to 18 hours. And so it would give somebody plenty of time on a Friday or on a Monday, because one of the arguments is somebody would have to know these areas where they were. Somebody would have to know not only the areas, but also how to get out of the areas without being seen. And so in both cases, I believe they thought maybe it was somebody local and that knew the terrain. But if you're going, and this is your route and you're hitting these locations 3 or 4 times a year and you're having to wait 15 to 18 hours, it's very likely that as somebody that's coming in and out of the town, that you would be able to become familiar with these places by simply just walking around, exploring, using Google Map, anything like that. Let me read these for a second while we wait on Keith.
I'm back.
Paula is also from
Sorry
Waterloo.
about that, y'all. Okay, what?
Paula is from Waterloo as well.
Okay. Yeah, Pam was saying something. There's 2 people from the area.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, if they want to call in, 205-730-6441, go right ahead. So, Garrett, let's talk about the
Alley Cat just said something interesting. So, Keith, let me catch you up real fast.
Yeah.
So, I was explaining that one thing that we were going to talk about were the location of these Packers plants, right? Which is also just kind of interesting. And the reason why you wanted Randy to respond back is because I think what you're going to ask him is it common to wait long periods of time to either drop off and or pick up your load whenever
Absolutely.
you're doing
They were saying, and some of those guys said it was taking 18 hours to unload a truck. Now, that gives you plenty of time to get used. Like if your truck, say your route is the Packers, that's part of it, Indiana
Right.
Packers. So you're going out there, so you go wander around. It's only like a mile and a half, I think, from the location. Go ahead and read some of those, Garrett, if you want. 'Cause there's some
I've been reading through them. They're
very
all,
interesting
and
people in
and
here
I told
today.
everybody really thank you because this is very informative. This is a great conversation. Everyone's engaged. And somebody was talking about how it is interesting about the Packers plants. And I was explaining that, like, if I were to go somewhere, even if it's 3 or 4 times a year, Keith, okay, that I'm going to this Packers plant. I don't know how often a truck driver would do this, right? But if I had to wait 18 hours every time I went, you're getting up there to the 40 hours, 50 hours you spent,
Yeah.
and in these locations, it's like, what am I going to go do? Oh, wait, I'm a serial killer. I'm going to go scope these places out. Because even somebody from Waterloo, Paula, said to know where the 7 bridges, I'll just read it.
Yeah, go ahead. I missed some good stuff,
To
man.
know where 7 Bridges Park is, you would have to be a local. It has been abandoned for years ago. DNR doesn't even upkeep anymore and hasn't for years.
Okay.
And so it would have to be a local and or somebody that is meticulous and
Yeah. Atlanta, didn't they say that 7 Bridges is pretty much turned into like a party area for young kids back from the 70s, and now, like you said, it's basically just no one's there. It's just
right.
So it's not a happening place anymore.
Well, and Ali Cat commented and said, that's very interesting that no one would know where that area is. That's the same thing with Delphi.
Yeah.
So, which
Okay, but let's
play devil's advocate.
this scenario. So, okay, look, you've got 18 out. And I wouldn't think that would be the norm. That's why I want my buddy Randy, if he's out there. Randy, does it take 18 hours? Is that a normal thing? Because I don't think it does. Because I remember when trucks would come into places I worked, you unloaded the truck, took maybe 30 minutes, and off they went.
Right.
But I mean, you got to think you're renting a car.
Here's the thing.
You're
here's what Cass is
you're
going to
not
be saying.
just walking.
No. Here's what Cass is going to be saying right now, Keith.
Oh no.
Okay, because
Cass is my daughter
Yeah.
for you guys, but anyway.
coming home 3 weeks ago, she's trying to get off, I'll just say it, Airport Road, okay, over there on Council, and she got lodged in between 15 semis. So it's our little SUV,
God.
and there's 15 semis all the way backed up onto Airport Road, all the way down Council, all trying to get into that plant right there.
Okay.
Literally just waiting. So, I mean, I think that there are times at these places where that could happen. But your point is, like, for me and you, I wouldn't get out and go walk around the woods probably.
I don't think I would.
I would try to go, like, to the nearest big town and watch a movie.
Well,
or,
see,
like,
someone was
but
trying
you're
to
not a serial killer, and neither am I.
I know that. Well, and because to
Not
you and
that you
I,
know of.
that's crazy. I'm not going to go,
Yeah.
But they are crazy people.
They're psychopaths.
Absolutely. They're
They're
sociopaths.
obsessed. I mean, one of the serial killers that we had talked about recently was saying it was just something like inside of them that they had to fulfill.
Yeah,
And if there's
it is.
something
It's
inside of you that you have to fulfill, right?
food for me.
Food, yeah, or music,
Or music.
right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. You're gonna. That's your endeavor.
It's
your,
a crazy drive they have, and they can't. They say they can't help it.
right. I mean, if you're going through the process to plan like these had to be planned, that's how you plan your training sessions when you're doing. That's how I plan my work.
Right.
Like I'm developing something. So, did your door just open?
Yeah, I think it's Lloyd. We're actually, my studio's in a bedroom,
Get
so we
outta
got a whole
here.
family out here.
So,
Get out of here.
Get out of here. But no, so you would have, like, in your work and in my work, like, we develop these things over time. We practice it. We plan it, right?
Right.
And so that's where my point is, like, if that's your thing, if you're a freaking serial killer that likes to go after young girls like a creep and isolate them and kill them and get away with nobody knowing, you would have to be like
Man,
that.
but that's a.
Average Joe just doesn't
How
go
much
kill
luck
two.
is involved in this, though?
That's why my point though is
I mean,
I'm not sure if there is luck involved. I feel like
There
it's
has
planned.
Garrett, listen to me.
I am.
What's that little kid? Listen to me, Karen.
Yeah.
Listen, Karen. Whatever that.
Hey, how good of a show would that be if I just broke this off? I was like, "Rah."
Hey, I bet we get some views if
probably.
if Garrett beat me to death on live.
Yeah.
we get a ton of views.
Yeah, and Cass would be
This thing
real
would
mad
go
at me.
viral.
Cass would be pissed.
Ah.
Okay, so you're
Not
talking
after
about
the millions of dollars.
You're talking about the luck involved in this.
Dude, there is so much luck involved in this that, I mean, I don't care how you plan this. You cannot plan for a car to come driving around a corner. You can't plan for walking two girls down a hill that there just might be another hiker that had the same idea just to go, not to kill, but just to hike.
Right.
You're taking, I mean, you could plan all years.
Yeah.
And all it takes is that one person to drive around the corner or that walks, down
But if
there.
you treat it like a business, then it's all about risk
still-
and reward. If you want it that bad, you're willing to take a little bit of risk to get that
there's
huge
no
reward.
doubt these guys are taking huge risk. And
Yeah, so that's why
it's a miracle. I mean, well, it's not a miracle. That's a horrible way to put it, but that they got away with it.
you're right. Yeah.
There's so many things. Why didn't the girl scream? Why did And of course, we talked to Kathy, who said she thinks that the girls were quickly taken over, knocked over the head, knocked unconscious before they had a chance. And that could, Linda, listen. What I was trying to tell you. Have you ever seen that video?
No.
It's cute.
I was just telling them while you were gone that I'm not really like on YouTube very much or anything. So this has been very interesting for me to have this computer here and to watch the conversation.
And you see the light bulbs going off, and Garrett's like, "I'll get my own show, show."
This is great. I love this. And to have like some people from Waterloo and those areas that are
this is awesome. Thank you so much for everybody for showing up today. But anybody from that area, if you want to call in at 205-730-6441 and just kind of tell us what your take is on it. I mean, do you think the two murders are related? Do you not? Is there a reason why you don't?
There's varying opinions in this chat room.
There is. That's what's
good,
awesome.
Yeah,
that's what's awesome,
man. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, people. We've only got like 65 people, but again, like Garrett said, that's okay. We do this because we enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, and we want to help people. If you go back and listen to all of our other episodes,
I would feel so good if we help these families. I mean, if something, and you never know.
Hey, but
you never know.
Just to input this, if you go back and you listen to like some of our other episodes, actually, if you listen to every single one from Kathy Nance to Dr. Corelli, to every episode Dean the Medium, like all of them.
That was interesting.
Amber,
all of it.
Every single one of those shows, it was all about helping.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, helping in dark times and helping in death and helping in life. And so
I totally agree.
I think it's
an
common
awesome
theme.
thing.
Yeah. And so to see all these people talking about it and everything, it's super cool.
Yeah. It's funny because Pam's saying, get back on track, boys.
Oh,
but here, what you guys got to understand, you got two ADHD people doing a show. Great ingredients.
I would say passionate.
Yeah,
people.
and I am.
We are very passionate.
So let's get back. Okay. So we've got Tyson's Food, not that far from the disposal site.
Right.
And then we've got Indiana Packers, just a mile. I think they said 1.5 miles away from Monon High Bridge. I
wonder if they pulled.
Could it be a trucker that's coming into town? He's I'll tell you something really interesting. And Minivan Traveler, if you're out there watching, he's the one that came up with this. He went to the satellite. You can actually go to the construction company that was working on Indiana Packers, right?
Right.
They do a satellite picture every day that they work on a project.
Interesting.
He went back to the very same day that the girls were killed, and he started looking from Monday through Friday to see if there was any cars missing. And there was a white, I think he said maybe it was a van, I'm not sure. But he said it wasn't there on the day the girls got killed. Then it showed up the next day late. And then it was gone on the fourth day, which was the first press conference that they were having in Indiana.
Wow. Interesting.
Right?
Very interesting.
And then and then I think after that he said it never showed up again. But I mean, is there something to it? Could be.
See, I was gonna say, do you think that and I'm sure they have, man. These investigators, you think we're passionate. And
those guys, yeah, they want to solve it.
Yeah, and so
those guys got some passion.
Yeah, and so, but do you think they've gone through employment records and tried from
you know what?
2012 and from 2000? And
absolutely, they. I mean, that's
you think
to
they
me.
Have, though?
Well, that would be. I would think FBI 101. I mean, if you would they. I know they went into the Packers place and they came out with some boots in a bag that had a white stripe on the bottom of them, and then they were showing a close-up of Bridge guy, and it looked like he had boots with a white stripe to look close. And then some people said
prints too.
Some people said that blue jacket that he's wearing looks like an Indiana Packers jacket.
Yeah, well, because there were other guys that were like wearing that jacket around. Even some of the suspects, they go into their house and they got the jacket on, and flat bill cap. And they're like, "What the hell?" Yeah.
Poor Ron Logan,
yeah,
man.
That's it, yeah. He's just
that guy. What could be worse about? He was on parole, so he lied about the day he was gone.
Getting drunk.
He was getting drunk during the murders, but he didn't want to.
Just terrible.
Yeah, and then he shows up to the interview with the blue jackets, got the hat, camo hat on. Yeah, it was just, and a lot of people started saying he would, but he's 75 years old. Yeah. But getting back.
That is a detail I would be interested to know if they did, though. If they did take employment records of both places and cross-analyzed it.
Do you think, though, that there's times when, like, manpower, we just can't get to it?
100%, yeah.
But something like that, like Minivan Traveler on YouTube, he said he turned that in. He said they never got back with him, which he was frustrated on because he said he works on cases, and he said for the most part, he said when you send a tip in, he said sometimes they'll send you back an email saying, yeah, we did follow up on it, thank you for the tip, or it didn't turn out to anything, and they kind of gave him a reason.
Right. Yeah.
He said, but Indiana's not sending nothing back.
Okay.
Sheriff's Department's not sending nothing back. State Police isn't sending anything back. And it could be because who knows how many tips they're getting in a day to answer every single email.
Right.
And they're probably looking at an email going, okay, I read that one 2 months ago, gone, and not time to type it all out.
Well, I'll tell you what I do with my work is I deal with inquiries that are coming through the website, right?
Well, you'd have to have one person just hired just to do
exactly,
that. And then tell someone, hey, let's check out this lead.
And what I do normally, I have to really train myself to do this, is that when somebody contacts me and it's good, I just immediately start to get it done, and I don't even respond to them. I'll just get it done, right? And then hopefully...
Yeah, I've done that.
And so I feel like, that could also be the case. I mean, because that's Minivan Traveler that's impressive. That's a cool way to think about...
I've emailed with him early in the case about some things. Like one thing that I want to know, which, again, I'm sure this was a manpower thing that just couldn't be done, but could have really helped, I think, catching the murderer is right after that, you send detectives to every freaking gas station in a 100-mile.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in a 100-mile circumference, check the security footage. This guy had to stop and use the bathroom at some point, stop and get gas, get rid of the clothes, maybe. Right. There could have been video of him walking to a dumpster, because, you can look in that jacket. He's got stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's bulky. It looks like
he's prepared.
He's prepared. He's got either tools of the trade or he's got trash bags in there to put clothes in.
Well, and if you're a truck driver, and that's all you had to think about from your route from the plants.
Well, and
would you not know which route to take where you'd be the less likely to be
absolutely seen? And then even you could probably even carry a trash bag.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the guy, and being a truck driver, guys probably aren't going to say anything.
Yeah.
OJW's got a bag of beef in it, So who knows? But it is interesting though that there is 2 meat packing places next to there, which could make you think that it's possible it's a truck driver. I mean, and this guy could be completely off the radar, just like the Golden State Killer was. Right. All these people who we think it might be, it may not be.
Well, they categorize these serial killers, right, into interstate killers, which oftentimes are like truck drivers, or if you're just sitting in one, like the
what about
Long
Keith,
Island.
Keith Jefferson? He was the smiley face killer. He drove a truck. He picked up, prostitutes. It was and killed them, dumped them on the side of the road. He did this for several years before he got caught.
Well, then you have the Long Island Strangler, or whatever they're calling him, who hasn't been caught, and we're going to do an episode on that because that case
that's interesting.
That case is unbelievable, but and the fact that that's unresolved is insane because you're talking about 13 bodies, 10 to 30. I can't remember some.
Yeah, when I lived in New Jersey, that had just started. And then when I left New Jersey, I think he had already killed a few people. But
with him, he just kind of static. I mean, he was just like all his bodies were kind of in the same area. So there's a difference between interstate, obviously, and somebody that's just local. And so
sure,
it would have to be. And I wonder if from this we'll get another case somewhere down the line that's by a Packard plant.
Yeah.
Or if there had been one even in the 90s that were
who do you guys think it is? Put it in chat. We've got Thomas Bruce is number one with a lot of folks. Daniel Nations is another one. Paul Edders, which he killed himself, so he's kind of out of the loop. But if you have a suspect you think it might be, put it in there. We'll talk about it.
Hey, Ivy Push brought up this thing's awesome. People are writing all sorts of awesome stuff. She talked, if you go to a truck stop, though, if somebody's been hauling a long way, they have a certain walk.
Yeah.
You get out. Like I said, I drive a lot. Like when we go on road trips, we just drive 24
He does have a weird gait. But also I got to also think
irregular. Yeah. It's like.
But possibly if you've looked at those tracks on Delphi, there's so many gaps you probably do have a weird gait trying to get through it without falling through it. And just having to really be careful watching your step on that. But yeah, he does kind of, I've heard people say that they thought he had a total hip because of the way he walked. And that's possible. But another thing I wanted to bring up, Garrett, was Thomas Bruce, and I'll give Michael Catt all the props for this because he actually had a friend of his, Miss Cavalier, I think she's called.
Miss Cavalier.
And Michael Catt's got a real good channel on this too. He's just a cool dude, just laid back cool and everything. But he said, "Hey, can you find out what vehicles that Thomas Bruce was driving?"
She worked for like the State Department or something.
She said, "That's easy." Is that invasion of privacy? I don't know. But she, we talked about earlier. They said they saw a white SUV. Thomas Bruce owned a white 1988 Jeep Cherokee.
Right, yep.
And that looked very similar to what they saw.
Right, yep. Which is funny because Kat was like, man, that's like a rare car. Like, and it is. Like nowadays, it's funny. Larry owns one. He still has a Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah.
And it's rare. Like how often
people love them. My friend has a Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah, they're awesome. They like run forever.
Just a cool
but
vehicle.
You're talking about 2012. Having that late model Jeep Cherokee, because when he first said it, I was like, I don't know. Like, I bet if you went through the database, like the DMV, you'd find like thousands of them. But we're talking about a pretty concentrated area.
Yeah.
Right. Of these, and when you look at the person he's trying to tie it to,
who's killed in the past.
Right. So, the guy he's trying to tie it to, it's pretty.
But the only thing with I still have a problem with the motive. I mean, I want to, it's like I do kind of like Thomas Bruce for this, but.
You got to find a different word for that.
What?
I know the cops use it, but every time you say that, I'm like, wait, you like Thomas
Bruce?
Guys,
I watch Discovery.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I got one channel on my TV's Discovery ID.
Yeah, I love it.
Right? And that's all I watch. And they go, I like that guy for that crime.
Yeah,
okay, I don't like the guy, but I'm just saying.
Giving you a hard time.
Now, Garrett, I'm old and I lose my train of thought. So,
but the MO, it doesn't fit the MO, is what you're saying.
It doesn't. I mean, Thomas Bruce was convicted of going into a Catholic store that
don't talk about the crime. Oh,
I'm not. I won't mention.
It's so bad though.
No, I won't mention it.
If you guys want to look it up, you can look it up.
Well, he sexually assaulted some girls and one. Well, I'm sorry,
I know,
but this is what happened.
So bad.
But these were female adults.
And shot one. Boom.
Yeah, shot one because she refused. But at the same time, that's a niche. When you're stalking little kids, it's a difference between that. I don't think people go willy-nilly on I'm going to kill kids and I'm going to kill adults.
They don't,
I do think they have some screwed up part of their brain that they focus in on a certain age group, or maybe the way a girl looks, something like that.
For sure.
So it kind of makes me think maybe he didn't do it. Yes, he had a white SUV at the time. That is very suspicious.
Well, my theory behind it too, is if that's an anomaly that he did that, and that maybe he just These guys all, I mean, they're unstable. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
yeah,
that's
no,
the
I
crazy thing.
I
You know
understand.
what I'm
I
saying?
understand. Yeah, anything can go for these guys
But it's also
to fill that need. But
it's
I
very
do
rare. Again, that's
But
another
don't
very
you
rare
think?
thing.
But don't you think it's a need they're fulfilling? And
Oh, for sure.
And it's a niche. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%.
So
that's why they say
as
it's very
sickening
rare.
as it sounds, that thing that really turns him on
Yeah.
is killing little girls.
Right,
That's
for
his
sure.
deal.
That's their goal.
Right. That's their goal.
Yeah.
Not for an adult.
No, yeah.
And also if you look at it, then
It was brazen.
and a little easier to control because the little girls are weak and they're not
Yeah.
as strong as he is.
Well, and that's also though,
Easy can overcome these little girls.
Thomas Bruce knew that going into that store too, though. Like he knew that he
Yeah,
was going to
he-
be in complete control, and that he was gonna kill somebody if he needed to. So that part of it is like the controlling, kind of how brazen and control. That's why if
I
you
found
were,
it interesting. I'm sorry, I
Go
didn't mean to cut you off.
Go
No, I
ahead.
found it interesting. Did you know he went in there, he was going to buy something. He told them, "I left my credit card in the car." He walks out, get his gun, brings it in. So it's almost like, yeah, it's premeditated, but at the same time, he's like, "Let me go in and scope this out because
sure.
if there's a couple of dudes in there,
Yeah.
I'm going to back out."
Yeah, for
but
sure.
why wouldn't you? I mean, if you hid your gun, no one's going to see it anyway. I mean, why would you take the
Right.
time to walk out
That's
to your
true.
car, get the gun, bring
Yeah.
it back?
Well, because maybe he's a serial killer that I mean, because sometimes tell me, I mean, has there ever been
Did
a
he
serial
forget?
killer that's remorseful, like that wants to be caught?
Man, I think if you do something like that, you're a true sociopath, and sociopaths lack feeling. They lack
Right, that's my-
they lack empathy. They don't have
That's
any
why I'm saying it would have to
feelings
be,
either way.
It would have to be an anomaly where this one serial killer, for out of all the thousands that there have been, decided one day that I don't want to kill little girls anymore. Instead, to fulfill this need, I'm just going to go brazenly into this place where I know I'm going to get caught. That's the only way that it could be Thomas Bruce. There's no
Yeah.
other way. Because you're right, it would be so rare.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the
Go
chat
for it, dude.
chat
It's
room
popping.
real quick
It's
if
popping.
you want to talk to some people here. This is just
Yeah, Pamela brought up a really good point. She was saying that it would be like for the person that did both of these crimes, if it's the same person or a different person, either way, it would take a concerted effort physically for them to do that. And the thing about truck drivers, right, is oftentimes they're sitting for long periods of time. They got, there's high levels of diabetes and stuff like that. So it's not like you're able to get out and go for a 2-mile jog every day and lift weights, which I'm not trying to generalize, but generally speaking, it would take somebody that is a little bit more fit and so that I think that's what Pamela
and
was
it
getting
kind of
to.
goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is how we, again, we saw the bridge guy. He's overweight.
Right.
He's probably in his 50s. And I think even Michael Catta did something where he went through the whole scenario of how long it took. 43 minutes from, I think he said, from crossing the bridge down the hill over the Deer Creek,
Jeez,
killing the people, and then his escape route. And the other day I watched a couple other people do this, and the girl was out of breath. This was a
Right.
girl that was a young girl, and she's like, "Stop, I gotta
Right.
hold on a minute." And even Michael Catt said the same thing. They had another guy with him, and he told him in green, I was like, "Hey, hang on, guys, I'm worn out." And
So yeah, it would,
so it's almost like, how did this guy do this?
determined.
Or he had an escape route that no one knew about,
Right, yeah, for sure.
that was
For sure.
more level, maybe took him longer,
Right. Yeah, he could have just been chilling out there for a little bit too.
But getting back to this is our ADHD guys kicking in, but
It's just that's a great point by Pamela there.
yeah, and but also,
BTK wanted attention, she said.
oh yeah, and they think they will,
Paula.
yeah. Paul, BTK. Yeah, total sociopath, was a deacon in the church, worried about spaghetti sauce, made sure that they, the day he got arrested, I mentioned that last week. Isn't it strange how the human mind, and then you got to think, him being a deacon in the church, was this just completely a put on to cover up that dark side of him? Or could they actually have a split of the mind where they do have empathy and care for the people they love and care about the people they go to church with, but these strangers are just faceless people to them?
Yeah, so
And they have that desire to kill, so therefore they don't
Right.
feel guilty about that, but they could never kill one of their friends or someone they knew in a church, and still cared enough to get that spaghetti sauce to the dinner.
Right. Yeah. So
Just crazy.
Well, one word that Paula used was, or maybe it was Ivory. Oh, no, good. Yeah, Ivy Push is desensitize, and that's a word that we talked about in the Sequel 7 episode.
Yeah.
About how could a time traveler come back and just wipe out people? Well, they become faceless. So that's a valid point, Keith, about BTK, is they could have a part of their brain where they're just completely desensitized to this type of person for one reason or another. Like in the Delphi Evansdale case, it would be towards little girls. Right?
Yeah.
BTK had his thing.
Right.
Right.
And it was the same MO. It was older people.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Was he the one also that maybe killed a 12-year-old? And God, there's so many serial killers. I could be getting this wrong. But I think he may have killed also a 12-year-old, which was kind of out of his realm. Right. And
same
the rest,
thing happened in Long Island.
But most of them were young, or not young, I'm sorry, elderly people.
Right, yeah, and the Long Island did the same thing.
Yeah, let me go. I just saw one that was interesting. If I can find it. Okay, Cece Schrader. I've been following both cases, which they could catch this guy already. Who thinks it's more than one guy? That's a theory, and
we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, Cece, believe me, I've thought about that too. And there's, and I'm not going to bring up any names, but there's also this theory out there that there was a son. That's the reason you had the younger sketch, and there was a father, and that was the older sketch.
Okay, man.
Okay, and what the theory is that possibly the son, and this guy's kind of high in the community, right?
Right.
His son supposedly, and again, this is all speculation. Right. I'm not saying this happened. Supposedly got Liberty pregnant. Now, he did not want his son to have to be a father at 15 or 16 or whatever. And the kid may have been older than that, 18. And again, I'm not going to say their names because they're probably innocent. And these people, in fact, there's one guy on YouTube that just rakes their names.
Oh, God.
And I can't believe he does that. But anyway, and that's the thing. They think the father actually had the son out there. That's the reason you got the younger sketch. The father killed them. The boy enticed the girls to come out there to meet them, and that's how they were murdered, and they both left. There was a witness who did see a truck on the side of the road, young guy, and they're asking him, do you need help? And he said, no, my dad's on the way or something. But as if he was waiting for his dad to come back from the Monon High Bridge. Now, again, that is totally out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And they didn't, of course, law enforcement has been tight-lipped. And I don't think that was the scenario.
No.
But people were trying to just, but it threw
grasping at straws, though. People want it solved.
Well, when they released that younger sketch, that confused everybody.
It did.
When I looked at it, I was like, okay, so is this who is this guy? And they were trying to insinuate it's the same guy walking on the bridge. It's like, no, it's not the same guy.
There has to be a reason why they released it, though, because they knew, fully knew that this was going to be.
Do you think it's to throw the killer
confused.
Off? Think that, now they're looking for someone young, I don't have to worry about
Maybe to draw him out.
And then to draw him out a little bit?
Yes.
Which would be horrible. That means he'd have to kill again.
I know, but maybe they have an idea. Because,
horrible.
Dude, when I was watching that, because I'm a super recognizer.
Yes, that's true. Garrett has been studied by the University of Cambridge.
Greenwich and Cambridge.
And Cambridge.
You saw an email. I
did. He sent me an email. So if he looks at your face,
I'll remember it forever.
He'll remember it forever. He can recognize you. It's the craziest thing I ever heard.
And if Cass is on here, she could verify that. Actually, Larry verified it. He took the test.
Yeah, Larry said you did a lot better than he did.
I did really good. Hey, that is so drastically different, the two sketches. And again, in one of our episodes, the last episode, we talked about how we can just pass each other normally. And the average person is not going to, and I'm not a superhero. Some people call me that. I'm not going to call myself a superhero. But the normal person would just, little fragments of your memory would remember that face, right?
But what if you're not expecting it? What if you're...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're in the park.
Why would you expect it?
Yeah, exactly. You're in the park with your daughters, and some guy walks by you. I go do my walk.
Right.
Well, I try to do it every day.
Yeah.
But it's been too cold.
Yeah.
But anyway, as I pass people, I don't know. If someone stopped me and said, "Hey, what was that guy wearing? What did he look like?"
Which brings me to my point. the
And that's
police
true.
would not
That's-
release
that's
it
true.
just based off of your, or like maybe if it was me because I'm a superhero, but like the average
supposedly supposedly what I heard is the sketch was from an eyewitness who saw the suspect leaving the Monon High Bridge Park.
Right. But I'm saying, like, they knew that would add so much confusion to the case. They had to. There's no way in this universe that team of investigators, when they released that next composite sketch, they knew 100% that was going to... and they didn't answer questions about it. They just put it out there. Confused everybody. And so I don't think that they would go through that much trouble because they knew they were going to get lambasted from the media and from people that are... They knew that doing that and not answering questions. So for me, it's almost a sign. And even in that press conference, he said, you might be here. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so he was almost like they were sending a message to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think he thought he was there, but
Yeah, I don't either.
he could have been.
Yeah.
But everybody that walked in that door was on video. They looked at everybody.
100%.
But here's the deal, right? The bridge guy. Well, this is something I didn't think about. When did they release that video before that first press conference? Because he may have not known that they had video of him. And then he shows up, and they go, boom, there he is.
Right.
But I think anybody, I don't know, man, involved in a murder, I'd be scared to go to a press conference.
Yeah, for sure. These are psychopaths.
Well, because if I knew when I was leaving the area and I saw a couple of people, how do I know they didn't talk to the police? How do I know they didn't get, my description?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm not showing up at the press conference.
Right. So that also goes to the point, which I think that they knew that he would be watching that. And there was some reason why they're saying these things. Like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because there are some
they're trying to draw them out. Yeah.
Isn't it odd how
you're poking the bear, dude?
Yeah, and isn't
Make a
it
mistake.
odd how some of them are really stupid? For instance, let's go back to BTK.
Yes, please.
He was sending messages to the police from the church computer. Now, he asked a question. They said, you can answer us. And he goes, well, do you promise me you can't trace it back from the disk if I send you a disk in? And they said, no, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't. And he sent a disk in. And then, when he got caught, the BTK said to him, goes, you guys lied to me. He was really concerned. You guys lied to me.
Yeah, what a
it's like, so,
idiot.
I mean, you got to be kind of stupid.
Well, I think the more success you get, you start to become probably,
But why would you trust the people who are trying to find you?
Oh no!
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's a slip up.
Why
he
would
got
you
too
try?
big for his britches, man. That's my point, though. Like these guys,
you
get to a point where it's like, you're
yeah, they get too careless.
They're careless, exactly. And so I feel like they're poking the bear and hoping that this guy comes out again.
But you got to admit that there is some huge stupidity in that.
In what?
In him thinking, oh, I can trust the police.
100%.
They promised me they can't read that disc. And of course they put the disc in that says Dennis Rader Church, or Dennis. And it's like,
well, even
got him.
Golden State killer. I mean, he was in law enforcement, and in the 70s they were still collecting DNA. Yeah, they were keeping all that stuff, and he left a whole lot of DNA.
Yeah, he did. But he probably never in a million years thought that DNA would evolve to what it has evolved to, where it now.
There's no way. But he did it into the 80s too. Didn't he?
86 was his last attack, and they they had rape kits on it.
And I guarantee you, that's when he was like, okay, well. I probably should stop. I mean, this technology is catching up.
Well, you know what? It's some of that maybe, but also I think as he was and Dennis Rader said the same thing. As I got older, he goes, it was really hard for me to overtake these victims.
Right. Yeah.
I about lost my life. And
oh, God forbid.
God forbid. Yeah, I could have got hurt.
Right. But I could
have got hurt trying to kill these people.
Every single person that we've talked about was calculated.
That's why Dennis Rader
callous.
Yeah.
Right? They were planned out. They were well executed for a long time.
Yeah, and in 1986, the not BTK, but the Golden State Killer, he got this guy he wasn't expecting, went right at him.
Yeah.
And he got lucky. I mean, he got lucky for him.
Right.
Shot the guy through the face.
Right.
And then eventually was able to overtake him, but he almost lost that battle.
Right, yeah.
And Paul Holes and a lot of other people thought, hey, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to get caught.
Yeah.
So why blow a great record? As
yeah.
bad as that sounds, but
For sure.
But they've got that thought like, oh, look at this, I've got by for 20 years,
They're
and no one's
psychos.
ever caught me.
So, but I think that all this whole discussion is more to the point. The connections in the two cases, you got Evansdale, you got Delphi, you got Packers, you got it could be local, could be trucker, you don't know. Okay, but also well planned, well executed, in and out. And so in this discussion we're having even generally about serial killers is kind of all to that point and moves further away from what's his face, Thomas Bruce,
yeah.
who we don't know if he's a serial killer.
How do we feel about Charles Eldridge now?
It's called into question a lot.
Yeah.
Even the fact I shouldn't just by looking at him make any assumption. Okay, but I mean, again, like Pamela said, this guy's making a concerted effort. So the bridge guy, we talk about how old he is and that he doesn't look fit for the challenge, right?
Right.
But also that's a great point you're making about he's got a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, and I don't think he's quite. I don't know. He may not be as chubby as what he appears to be.
Right.
It's obvious if you look at that picture. There's stuff hanging down towards his waist area, where he's got stuff in there. Like I said, whether it's a trash bag to put clothes in and get rid of them. And that's another thing. Where are the clothes at? How did he walk out of that park not carrying a couple of bags and no one see him? Does he know a route that no one else knows that wasn't so strenuous to get through? May have took him longer, but he made it. And he got out.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's totally, a lot of people think he parked at the old something. I can't remember if anybody can help me. There's an old, like a city building or something. It's basically in the middle of the interstate, right?
Right.
There was a car parked there for a certain amount of time. Police have been asking people, if you recognize this car, please let us know. Okay, well, that means he's got to walk down the side of the highway.
Right.
I'm still thinking
somebody's going to drive by.
Somebody would have saw him. So I've never been to Delphi. I've never been to Mona High Bridge. Maybe there is a route that he knew that no one knew.
Right.
Maybe it was a little more flat land to get him out. Took him a little longer, but he made it
for sure
and got out
without
anybody seeing him.
Pamela commented on something.
Let everybody know who Pamela is. PD Sharp 3, my lovely, beautiful wife.
About alley cats, she was talking about people that work at Packers. Is that where you chop up animals?
Yeah.
And she's like, serial killers do have the tendency to do things like that. I mean,
they have psychologists on staff there because of the traumatic. There's a lot of, you wouldn't think. I mean, well, I guess I would. PTSD of people actually having to kill these pigs,
right?
Where they beat them over the head with a sledgehammer. Or however, I mean, I'm sorry I have to say that, but it's traumatic.
It is,
and
for sure.
Some people can't stay and do that job because it does affect them.
Right.
So, but a serial killer who is sociopath has no feelings.
Is it odd, though, that Packer plant location, 2 young girls, 1 psychopath, all at the same place at the same time? Does that strike anybody else as extremely rare and odd?
Well, so do you think
how were they all there? I don't think it was luck, dude.
Do you think that he was on a chat room? That's another.
I do. Oh, chat room. That's the word. That's what Cass said. Yeah, chat room.
There's another big theory that he lured the girls out there by pretending he was 13 years old or something, and the girls went to meet this boy, and
would they be able to
them.
access that chat room? Like I'm not.
That's the thing too. Is why I don't think it's that, because the FBI, state police grabbed those phones, home computers, went through all that stuff.
Yeah.
From what I understand, they subpoenaed Facebook, got all the messages.
Right.
So that would have been there. That would have been there.
But are there not encrypted apps where you can get into chat rooms that teenagers use?
I think you're stretching on that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know because I don't frequent them. So.
Yeah. No, I don't either. But I was just.
Does anybody know?
I've heard
there
people talk about it?
Maybe there is. Maybe there's a. But
where
still,
it shows up like a calendar or something. So like if mom and dad go to your phone and they look, it just looks like a.
Yeah, but when you get into forensics, computer scientists, they'll find it.
No, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, they'll find it.
But even with the chat room, does that kind of stuff like, once it's chatted through, is that just going into a database? I know we lose nothing, right? Or does that just disappear whenever that chat room closes?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I do see what you're saying. That
it's hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah, the possibilities of him being out there at the same time these two girls were there. You know, I don't know.
Should we open up the phone line?
Huh?
Should we open up the phone line and see if anybody wants?
The phone line's been open, just no one's calling.
I mean, I want to put a call out to some of these people that are talking. Like, they have some really great points. If anybody wants to call in and just chat about it, do it.
Yeah, we're kind of winding down here anyway. If you guys want to call at 205-730-6441, go ahead and give us a call. We'll put you on the air, and don't be scared. We have a very shy group. We always had a very shy group. They don't like calling.
I don't know why.
I don't know. I mean,
I called Art Bell.
Yeah, I called Art Bell, but there's people that, they just don't want to talk. They don't want to get on the radio. It's kind of nerve-wracking. But me and Garrett, hey, we're new at this. We're just as nervous as you are. So don't worry about it. Give us a call. Come on, 205-730-6441 if you've got a theory or you've got a suspect you think it might be. I think it'd be interesting for Allie to call in and kind of talk to her a little bit.
For sure. I think at the end of, kind of what we were talking about is there's two scenarios that we can conclude 100%. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
One scenario is there are two or more separate people out there that have committed a heinous, terrible, unthinkable crime with a lot of similarities, okay, in two separate places, or there's one person out there that's committed both of these crimes. That's the only two outcomes to this conversation we've had today. There's either two psychopaths or there's one.
I know. So what did your gut tell you?
One.
Yeah, me too.
It just
me too. And to keep, usually, okay, let's look at some history of pairs that kill together, and the first one that comes to me is Hillside Stranglers. Both of them, they both ratted on each other eventually.
Yeah.
They did catch them. One guy, it's a whole lot easier to keep a secret.
Oh yeah.
When someone else doesn't know about it.
Well, and doubt, sowing seeds of doubt, like in your mind. So like if we did something together, it would be easy. Every single move you make, I would be like, wait, is he turning on me? Is Keith turning on me right now?
You would have to be very trustworthy of each other. And not only that, but the chances of one of us not going out to a bar and having a few drinks and our lips get a little loose and you tell somebody.
And you just double the amount of evidence that you could possibly leave behind at the scene.
Yeah, you might plug that computer in. It's getting ready to die. The plug-in's right over there.
Oh, God. You got me moving around. Where is it at?
But, yeah, that's something I've thought about for a long time. For the first theory I had was I thought, okay, this had to be two people to control two little girls, right? And but then I started thinking about, okay, weapons of choice. Yeah, if you had a gun, it would scare you enough that you wouldn't run. And then someone brought up a great point about, well, you wouldn't want to leave your best friend to be murdered, and I get that. I get that. And thank you for bringing that up because that's something I really didn't think about. But yeah,
fight or flight.
Yeah, if it was me or you, I'd run like hell.
I'd be like, bye, Keith.
See ya.
I'll push you down.
You're on your own. No.
But it is a good point.
But that's the thing is, me and you are really close. He's my son-in-law for you. For you new guys, he's my son-in-law.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
There's no way I'd leave him.
No, hell no.
If something like that was to happen, I would just say, well, we're just going to die together, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which on the flip side, if there were two murderers, right, or two psychopaths, they would, like in Columbine, they'd have to be willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice to not get caught.
Yeah,
that's the only outcome. Because you were saying, let's talk about history. The Stranglers.
Yeah.
Who else? What other one do you have? Do you have another one?
I'm trying
to
think.
There were two guys.
There's not a whole lot of them.
There were two guys that killed a little boy, I think, back in the 40s.
Yes.
God, what are their names?
It starts with L.
Leopold and
Leopold. Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember their
names.
And
I don't know. I mean, I read a little bit about that. That's been a long time ago. But did one rat on the other, or what happened?
Yeah, I think one ended up.
See, and that's something you would always have to worry about if you had a partner. It'd be much easier.
And we're talking a few. What?
Well, look at BTK successful, Golden State Killer, 47 years.
Yep.
Because he had no one involved,
right?
And he didn't talk.
Right. Who's
You
the most
know?
prolific serial killer in American history? I can't remember his name.
Prolific?
He's African American guy. He draws the sketches.
Oh, I was going to say Ted Bundy.
No, this guy is. I think they are up to 98.
Oh my God.
He claims, but he has a photographic memory. He's actually sketching out all the pictures, but he went for years.
But isn't that weird though? I will say this.
He remembers all their faces.
Yes, but that's crazy because most serial killers, when they interrogate him, they'll go, "No, 10 years ago," and go, "Oh yeah, that was Lisa Luth. I had her in the back of the
Yep.
car. She had a red sweater on." I mean, they
Trophy.
have this incredible
Trophy because it's
memory of these killings, and all of them.
Well, do you remember like great Christmas presents you got growing up as a child? I do. Like those stand out in my memory. And to these people, they're not humans.
Smash 'em up derby, Evil Knievel stunt cycle. Oh yeah,
Oh man, that's good.
I do remember those. I
Yeah.
love those. Yeah.
Nintendo
Yeah, well,
64
you know
ping
what?
pong table.
That's a very good point because they say like certain things that mean a lot to you, that memory stays embedded,
right, 100%.
and even if it's a bad memory,
Yeah,
it stays embedded. Like I remember everything I did the night John Lennon was killed.
that's crazy.
I remember going to 7-Eleven. I bought tubes for my amplifier. But yes, you could walk
That's like
into
me for 7-Eleven.
the 7-Eleven and buy
I
tubes.
mean 9/11.
Huh?
That's like me for 9/11.
Yeah, I remember everything I did that day, and that was 1980.
Right.
But God, I mean,
They say you're-
it's vivid. I remember.
They say, yeah, your brain is like.
I went to the dentist that morning. My mom let
It
me.
sucked.
My mom was great because she knew I was upset about John being killed,
Yeah.
and she let me stay home.
Good.
And I remember going to my record store. Oh, we got a call. Okay, awesome. Pam said we're going to get. Pam, my beautiful model wife, said we're going to get a call. Ivy push.
Yay!
Yay, Ivy. Yeah, you've commented like crazy on the.
Hey, she's calling right now.
There it is.
Plug her in.
Hey, Life After Life, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Ivy Push.
Hey, Ivy Push, thanks for calling.
Hi.
How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Is this the Alabama phone number?
You know, let me tell you the story about that real quick. I was picking a Google Voice number. I didn't want to put my real cell phone number down there for reasons, of course. But and for some reason, this number was the one that was available. You think they would have had like we're in Oklahoma, by the way. But yeah, so I got a 205 Alabama number.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't realize that.
yeah, I didn't. It was crazy.
Yeah.
They had no 405 available, I guess, at the time. I don't know.
What's going on?
But what's on your mind?
I just want to kind of bring up a couple different things here.
Sure.
I know it's been discussed, things have been discussed about DNA.
Yep.
And DNA is like really in its infancy as far as a criminal tool being used.
Sure.
The problem with DNA in this case, I originally thought that DNA would like, man, they're going to nail the guy right away with the DNA.
Yep.
Right.
But then you have the issue with mixed DNA.
Okay.
And I've studied mixed DNA now for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And the difficulty in separating the DNA in this case would be extremely difficult when you have the two, Libby and Abby, who had been together for over 36 hours in the same places.
That's
in
a
the
good
same
point.
vehicles, everywhere. They'd been everywhere together.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Then you have the DNA from the searchers that were out there the night before. So there's DNA out there, but the problem comes down is they have to track each DNA. And then when you have the mixed DNA and you separate it, you lose the quality or the type you need to get.
Will you explain mixed DNA really fast, if you don't mind, just like layman's?
Pardon me?
Will you just explain mixed DNA like
She
in
did.
layman's? She did?
Yes, she's saying
Okay, mixed DNA would come from like multiple people.
so it's two different
Right,
things,
right.
so you have to separate it.
Like anybody that, like with Libby and Abby, they were at the ball field together. They were in Abby's mom's car. They were with their grandpa at the ball field practicing.
Right.
Then they went over to Becky and Mike, spent the night together. And there was people in and out. The kids were watching a movie. They were together the next day. So you have everybody's DNA.
Yeah, so when
Whether
you say
you
mixed
realize it or
DNA, it's not just 2, it could be 5.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
But couldn't you
another
eliminate?
thing about the
couldn't you-
contacts they had in that 36-hour time frame alone.
So we're talking about touch DNA,
including
right?
getting into their sister's car and anybody that
Yeah.
had been in that car prior. I mean, DNA does not just go away like in 2 days. It's there forever.
So Ivy Push, would
I
that
think
be
as our tools,
would that be push? Would that be touch DNA you're talking about?
some of it could be touch DNA, something that they touched, something that rubbed up against them.
Yeah.
DNA is transferred. You can.
But couldn't you
body fluid.
couldn't you eliminate a lot of that though? Like if Mike's this is Mike's, this is so and so, this is so and so's.
Right, but as you take a strand of mixed DNA,
It gets diluted.
you're separating it, pieces of it.
So it gets weaker.
So much of everybody's DNA is alike.
Ah,
So then
so it'd be
when
really
you
so.
get down to the parts that you need to say, hey, this is the person we're looking for. If you don't have a really good sample,
Mm-hmm.
there it is. I mean, you can't separate that.
So
but I do think
oh, go ahead. No,
they will help convict him with it.
right. So you're thinking that they're going to hold on to it, and as our technology improves, that eventually we'll be able to take that mixed DNA and pull it apart to where it's still pretty strong, and we can test it. And
Yep.
that'll tie them.
Right,
Okay.
and we have came such a big way in science regarding DNA. And it's only going to get better over time. But I think it comes down to it's just plain old good police work,
Yeah.
pounding them streets,
Yeah, absolutely. That's what,
asking those hard questions
Right.
and being out there. And then I wanted to bring up, there's always been this talk about the sheriff the night the girl first disappeared.
mm-hmm.
First,
Tobe Levacy.
why did he not bring in the search dogs? Indiana we are district off.
Mm-hmm.
We have 13 districts in our area in Indiana. So,
Yep.
like, different areas may have, let's say, District 3, which would be maybe out of Indianapolis. They have search and rescue. We have search and rescue in the southern part of the state. We all are into Indiana Homeland Security in a base, in a
Mhm.
database. So a simple phone call, and I'm not guessing why he didn't do it, but one phone call made to Homeland Security in Indianapolis, you can have whatever you want.
Right.
Wow. Well, I heard they did make that.
They moved.
Didn't they make that phone call and Tobe actually called him and canceled it? Like the
Well,
dog.
the last I heard, I've heard the dogs were called from
The dogs were called and then he
out of
canceled it.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of Kentucky, and then somebody else said Illinois. But he could have actually had the dogs and trained men and women. I mean, we train in rough terrain.
Right.
We don't go out. I mean, we sleep in cemeteries at night with our dogs. It's just the training that goes into this is unbelievable. And usually what we do is we'll take a dog handler,
Mhm.
another couple search and rescue people that are with that team, and often take a volunteer fire department member, like in this case, that's familiar with the layout.
Yeah.
But
Are you a dog
Gray
trainer?
Hughes had brought up,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
if you don't mind just asking.
yes, I am on search and rescue, but I also
Oh,
do
how
search
awesome.
and recovery.
Oh, wow. That's got to be so interesting.
Yes, I do. And I'm from Indiana.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So I know the resources were there. They just weren't utilized.
Why?
And it could have been a case that at that time, the sheriff didn't really put much that the girls were harmed.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were
they
going
thought
into
they just,
a dark time
right.
in Indiana. By 6:15, it was going to be dark.
Yeah.
I would guarantee
But
you
our
that.
Yeah, and
dogs
that's what-
also can work.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying, and they didn't. They thought, I doubt the girls came in any harm. They're probably, we're probably going to get a call at 3 a.m. that hey, they're over at so and so's house, and so therefore they just didn't think that
It was unfathomable.
it would have turned out like
Yeah.
it did.
Well, that mistake will never be made
But you
again.
can't. Yeah,
Right, and
you cannot do that. You got to look.
you cannot, not these days, not with
No.
their sex trafficking.
Yes,
in
sure.
Indiana right now,
absolutely.
we have one of the biggest hubs in Indianapolis for sex trafficking.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And there's been a lot of stuff done there. I think as this case progresses, yeah, we really wish it would have already been solved
Right.
and done. And I'm not sure they don't have certain evidence that they should be able to share. I don't think they should share what's on that phone.
Yeah.
Might not, and then there was talk about Dr. Core. Dr. Core is out of Terre Haute. That's where the girls' bodies were taken.
Okay.
And there was a forensic criminal pathology autopsy done on both girls. That man is so professional. You can't get into his lab without, it's unbelievable. He's just very professional. One of the top ones in our state of Indiana.
Wow.
And our statement to where if a child is involved in a murder case, he does the majority of those cases.
Wow.
And then I want to bring up another point. A lot of people think that Indiana State Police is over this investigation. That's not true. They are not the lead agency. Carroll County remains, for some reason, the lead agency on that.
Yeah, you would think the way Doug Carter talks that he's the man in charge. And so you're saying that's not the case.
Doug has been around a long time, and I know people have criticized him as far as his how he portrays himself as far as in this particular case. But if you look over other cases where, 2 years ago, we had 3 children hit by a lady that the kids were loading onto a bus in northern Indiana, and they got hit.
I remember that.
And he does use a lot of the same language. But what you see is really him. I mean, he's just a professional.
For sure.
You would be hard to find any state trooper that wouldn't tell you any different.
Yeah.
I felt like
he's just
listening to him. Yeah, I felt like that listening to him. Honestly.
He's very dedicated.
So Ivy, I know Delphi's pretty small. I know if it was my kids, I would have lit that place up like a Christmas tree, whether I had to go rent lights or whatever. And that wasn't the case. I don't think, did they not have access to the big lights to get out there and really light that place up?
Well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Caterpillar still has a plant or something up there in that northern part.
Yeah.
Those machines, I know, we get them donated, if we need those at night in our county.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the good thing about a rural town. People come out.
For sure.
If a neighbor needs something.
Yeah.
You may only need 10 people, but I'm telling you, 100 people are going to come.
Yeah.
And give you what they need.
Well,
what you need.
Right. And I heard that even after the police called it off after dark, I guess, but a lot of the family and a lot of volunteers did stay through the night. Isn't that correct? And kept searching.
Well, Mike went out into the city looking at, where do kids hang out? He actually went into, they were having basketball practice at one of the gyms, and he went in there because somebody had mentioned seeing the girls sing in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things. Hindsight's always 20/20. And it's not second guessing. You hope that you take each case and you learn to do, if God forbid if it happened again, we did this wrong last time, we need to fix that.
Right.
But I don't think there was any malice meant from the sheriff himself.
For sure.
Well, and they never had
you look back
they never had a case this
3
ever.
months
That's what
earlier,
Pam said.
you had 4 babies murdered in a house fire.
Yep.
And there was a level of corruption in that county that ended up with the fire chief's father, who worked for the state of Indiana, Homeland Security, come out and investigated the fire.
Yeah.
The fire chief and him both, the guy lost his job at the state, but then the fire chief stepped down in Florida. And that was 3 months before the girls were murdered.
Mm. Yeah, I remember reading about that case. It wasn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I have been kind of like they've changed. Different YouTubers have changed the look of the guy. They don't do it to be.
I know who you're talking about.
Malice involved. But they've even changed the the video and the audio to the point that you really need to go back and listen to the state
Right.
police
Right.
audio, but it's much clearer.
I know
For
one.
sure.
Gray
sure.
Hughes does awesome job,
Who?
hands down.
Who?
Gray Hughes
Gray's
and
best.
his masking.
Yeah, I told.
But a lot of people don't. Well, Gray don't. Gray thinks
Just say
you
it.
should be well educated on it before you even ask the question.
Did you listen to the show? Yeah, you listened to the show last week, right? I will watch Gray, but I am scared to death to put anything in there because I've seen him just tear people apart for asking a stupid question, or he'll miss. Sometimes I've seen him even misread things, and he jumps all over the person. Then he goes, "Well, I'm sorry about that. I was actually wrong on that."
Yeah.
It's
But he does really.
Oh, man.
He can take one thing
Yes.
and talk about it for an hour and 15 minutes.
the
But
guy.
he does awesome. He does awesome work.
He is
That's
truly,
and
truly
he's
talented.
very dedicated to this case.
He really is. It's super talented, and most of the money they raise, Garrett, he donates it.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, he went through the list. It's unbelievable
Yeah.
of who he donates that money to. And that's good. That he's not monetizing himself.
No.
Yes, he does this for for a living.
His
But I think we will see. I honestly feel like we will see more movement. We're already starting to see something. But
Yeah.
I think by the end of this in January,
yeah.
I'm just going to lead something somewhere because when the prosecutor, Robert Ives, retired in 2017, he said the only way he would come back was if they found evidence
Right.
that they could convict Bridge Guy, okay?
Yep.
That was in December of 2017.
Yep.
He came back on April 10th. He was sworn back in April 10th, 2019. And he came back then. So that kind of makes you believe they have more. That was 13 days prior to that April news press.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you. Do you think that they know who this is, but they just don't have the physical evidence to charge them?
I think they know who. I think they have a pretty good idea. And an important article, if everybody would like to read it, is in the Comet newspaper and I think it's out of Delphi. Sheriff Tobe did a interview in April of last year, of this year. I'm sorry, April 2020, and he stopped short of telling you that there's more than one person. He does say that the girls were killed on the property where they were found, but he doesn't say they were killed where they were. But I honestly cannot see how somebody would, but they were brazen enough to do it in the daylight. But
Yeah.
it would be so hard. But then again, the sheriff in the article, Sheriff Lisenby, does talk about the police did stay out there and were searching all through the night.
Yeah.
So it's a really good article if anybody wants to read that.
That's one
He
thing
does
that's
help clear up a lot.
yeah. That's one thing that's
And he
always
talks
ran
about
through my
the
mind is
fingerprint.
right that I thought there's got to be two people involved in this, but I watch everybody else like you do, and most of everybody who have YouTube channels on this subject believe it's just one guy. And
There almost had to have been two people involved. Libby was a strong girl. Now let me tell you. She played sports. She was athletic.
yeah, and that's a rumor. She fought when.
And what people don't realize is that this phenomenon of fight, flight, there's also a ending, which is a freeze. Your body can only stay in fight and flight for so long.
Yeah.
Because your adrenaline level goes up, your blood pressure, your pulse, your super awareness of what's going on.
Do you think?
But then,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Ivy, do you think it's somebody local?
Well, you got to look at the word local, not just as local as in the city itself.
Yeah.
You have a college that has some degrees that take 6-7 years to get, and that's Purdue. Now those people live in that area around there. That is an area where the girls were on Monon Bridge, in that area, it's a local hangout. Everybody, all the young, growing up, we all had a spot we all hung out.
Right. Right.
But then you also had 2 other young ladies that were older by about 10 years than Libby and Abby, who were late arriving at the bridge that day. And they take their first photo at 2:45.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they claim they didn't hear anything and see anything.
Right.
So maybe they were the intended people. Or maybe it could have been a simple thing like they got a creepy feeling about the guy. The guy was sitting somewhere and, he might have overheard them. I think the person went there with the intent to harm someone.
Yeah.
Rather, it was either Libby and Abby, could have been the other 2 that were late arriving at the bridge that day.
Yeah. Could have been Cheyenne. She's one of the girls that showed up and was
That's
taking
what I'm talking
pictures.
about. Diane and her friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they
You
were
never
late.
know. Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have been there about the same time.
Right. So you.
And then I just want to give a big shout out to Kelsey. That a lot of people don't realize she is a victim in this.
Oh, it's
And she has turned that.
absolutely.
And she goes to schools in Indiana and talks to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
She's bringing a lot of awareness to what happened to Libby and Abby. And she's taking that and showing you can do good. You can make something out of this horrible, unexplainable death of innocence. But that's pretty well all. I just think there's a lot more answers. I do think at this point it's time for law enforcement to come out and announce it's not the family member. I see it in our chats that, what is something? Everybody wants more released. So what more do you want released that would apprehend the subject? If we thought he, shot somebody, how is that going to lead you to?
Yeah, that's what Garrett and I was talking about earlier is, everybody's asking, well, we need more evidence release. But Garrett and I was saying, well, what's it going to matter if they were stabbed, shot, beaten over the head? How's that going to help you come closer to solving the crime?
Right, and I do also want to clear up the fact, and this is very important, is that both girls did pass away on the 13th. In the legal documents that they sealed the girls' autopsy report with, they used the date of death of 2/13 of 2017. So we need to clear that a little piece up.
Yeah, because
one didn't live through the night. They don't make mistakes like that. That's not how that's done.
Yeah, for sure.
But
because I know there were rumors of Abby that she actually survived through the night.
And if we are to believe what Anna's brother accidentally released those, but you can remember the pressure these families were under
for sure
at the time.
Yeah. So you believe that the text messages are valid then? That came out.
I don't feel like they're 100% valid. I don't.
Okay.
I have seen how people have took text messages and they have, I don't know how they do it, they're really smart with it, but they change the wording and they put it out there to get views. But I do think it would be important for the police to come out, law enforcement, and say, hey, these families are clear. Just like they did. The only other person that's ever been cleared is Ron Logan. And thank God he went to the watering hole that day.
I know.
Got
talk about the guy with the worst luck.
Actually, kind of the worst, but the best.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
Because if he had been home.
Right. No, for sure.
Yeah, and didn't they saw him
I do appreciate
like at a garbage dump too, like dumping stuff. And he's probably getting rid of the beer.
Yeah, he went to the dump.
Oh God.
The stuff is a local watering hole. But
oh man.
he did an extensive little sentencing on spouse was really hard on him.
Oh, they gave
that.
him
I'm
like
thinking,
4 years,
wait a
didn't they?
Yeah, but he'd only served, I think, right around a year and a half, too. They let him out of January of last year.
Yeah, that's still pretty hard for breaking parole.
And maybe they kept him there for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
True.
was he in danger? Was he next? Did he maybe know something? And that's another thing that people really need to look at and think, what? Okay, these kids that were out there, the young kids that were out there, they're now young adults.
Yep.
And I know it's hard to think back, but our brains are trained to make us think, and our brains protect us. So something like if you went shopping yesterday and you know, okay, well, there was a man, a woman, whatever, and then you got home and the next day on the news you saw this shooting. Well, your brain is going to try to protect you because it has a way of saying, okay, that could have been me that was shot and killed.
Yep.
But your brain protects you. But I think that somebody in early 2019, something happened in February, March of 2019 for them to have that press conference in April of 2019. But the question they go back to is, we were onto something early on. Well, what was that?
Yeah.
What were you up to early on?
Right, for sure.
Right.
And that could be another thing they could share. But again, it's in their hands.
Do you think there's going to be a press conference on the 4-year anniversary?
Yeah, I do. HLN has been there. I think they finished up the week, like the Tuesday prior to Thanksgiving. HLN is planning a big show on the anniversary date of the girls.
Right.
Oh yeah. She posted that in the comments. Yeah.
So do you think that you think there's going to be any type of bombshell or new evidence they're going to release, or do you think they're just going to kind of start at the beginning and just go through the evidence again, or what they have?
Well, there's a local, you got to remember, there's local people involved in this. And people have often brought up, well, did the girls come up on a meth lab? Is that why they got killed? Absolutely not. Because I will tell you, these people that sell and do the drugs, they squeal on their mama if they can make $100. I mean,
yeah, true.
This is a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody knows. Somebody saw that guy.
Right.
Yeah, I truly think someone's protecting this guy. Someone knows who this man is.
Well, there was a lady who found you guys were discussing this about the clothes change and the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lady who had to call 4 times to get somebody to come to her home and pick up bloody clothes out of like an outside barbecue grill, not the gas type, but the other type, where you can charcoal in.
Propane or something.
And it's all that's at the house where the white car was parked.
Oh.
That was the same lady. But she has since moved. She has took her family and moved.
Yeah, I think I remember reading about that.
So they have the clothes?
No, they got burned.
Oh, they did get burned. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They did finally pick them up. An FBI agent came out and picked them up.
Oh, so, okay. So they weren't completely charred or anything?
They weren't burnt. They were just placed inside the grill.
Right.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah, to the side of the house.
So they have them.
Yep. That's what
Awesome.
it sounds like. So it seems like.
But we do appreciate you guys sharing the girl's story and keeping it out there.
No, we
and
appreciate
even
you
the girls
calling.
in Evansdale.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hope justice is served
Because,
in this eventually.
And several of talking today, we're seeing all this stuff about Chris Watts. Okay, Chris Watts isn't going anywhere.
No.
Why not start featuring more of Libby and Abby and these children from Evansdale?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
At least once a week.
Yeah,
And so I think that's important because a lot of people you talk to, they assume this case is already solved.
Right.
No. A lot of people's never even heard of it.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, I never heard of the case until I think early last year. I never heard of it. And from what I've understood, there's even people in Indiana, Garrett, that hadn't heard of this story.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
That is
surprising.
true. I mean, if you go down around all of the Cincinnati area,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of rural towns in Indiana. I mean, some of them are what we call super rural.
Yep.
But again, I go back to the fact that we're all we're sectioned off and districts off in 13 districts.
Right.
And any rural county, doesn't matter who you are, where you're at, you don't get charged for the services from Indiana Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
One phone call, you can have anything you want. They could have lit up that entire place. But
Right.
I honestly think that it was just as they thought initially that, the girls went somewhere
There's
and
no
didn't
way.
count. In
There's
fact,
no-
Yeah, I think that's what they thought too.
in
that-
fact, I think that was one of the things the Sheriff Lesenby brought up was he said a family member said the girls would often take off and not tell anybody. Well, Mike Patty was real quick about correcting that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that wasn't them.
Well, Ivy Push, thank
But
you so.
it's so important
Yeah, well, thank
to
you so.
get these girls' story out there.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
that's what we're
100%.
hoping to do. Yeah. Well, Ivy, thank you for calling in. We really
Seriously,
appreciate
thank you
it.
so much.
Very.
Well, we thank you guys too. Keep telling it, please.
We will.
We will. We may do a few more shows about this because it's important. You know,
Yeah, and Libby's birthday is coming up. It's near Christmas.
Yeah. I'm going to try to get a hold of Kelsey and
and-
see if I can get her to come on. Is she open to doing interviews, or do you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, Kelsey has really came into to herself. Anna, I've seen Anna. Unfortunately, this situation has made somebody really quiet and reserved.
Mm-hmm.
Anna has came into her own. She did an awesome interview with Jason Hebert a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And I think they had like 35,000 views on it.
Wow.
They're both. I mean, these families are really good people. Just because we're from a rural setting in Indiana doesn't mean that somebody should take the life of innocent children.
100%.
Yeah, you're gonna have to let me know how to get a hold of Kelsey because I can't find her on Facebook. I can't find her on.
I'll check her. You want me to give her this number?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'll
You can
work.
call anytime.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
put your email in the chat if that's okay, or if you have an email that you know.
Is your email in there?
I think it's on the. It may not. You know what?
Hey, check this out.
I'll add
Ready?
it though. What?
lifeafterlife@gmail.com.
Yeah, what I mean, not that
I
I
have
care
one.
my emails out there, but
Life After Life at G. Yeah, send
I
me.
have a couple of professional emails. I'll use one of those to tag in.
Hey, Ivy.
But Kelsey, I mean, she has really done an awesome job
Hey, would you be the first
of
person?
bringing awareness.
Would you be the first person to
Pardon me?
email? Will you be the first person to email me in my lifeafterlife@gmail.com email, please? Life,
Just put your email.
lifeafterlife@gmail.com. Please be the first one.
Yeah, just send if you can send us Kelsey's information and
Or just send us an email so we have yours
yeah,
personally.
love to talk to her.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh no problem. Again, we just want to get more awareness going on here. We want to make sure that second sketch is brought up.
Yes.
A lot of people, like I said, that this case has all been done and it's not. But
Right.
we're going on a 4-year period, so we need to start asking more questions.
For
right.
sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and
Well, thank you guys,
Have a good
and
night.
yes, I will drop it to your email.
Okay. Thank you.
that'd be awesome. We'd
All
love
right.
to talk to her.
Have a good night.
All right,
You
bye.
too. Thanks again. Bye bye.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Hey, so I gotta get this out real fast because it's
Sure.
something I texted you about pretty late last night. But she mentioned something I can't, like, we talked about a lot right there. There's a lot to unpack. I wrote this down for a reason, but I sent you an article about a lady in Evansdale who it was a murder-suicide where she stepped onto the train tracks and pulled her
Yes,
son.
and she
had evidence
she had
in her-
evidence that she knew the guys that she hung out with had information about the Evansdale murder.
Right, yeah.
But did you read the rest of it?
They carried something out, didn't they?
Yeah, but they found no evidence.
Oh, they didn't find evidence.
They
of cell
found
phones?
They went all through her house, went through her computer, went
Okay.
through her
Well,
phone.
I knew that she had some like mental issues.
She
and
had
stuff.
she had a lot of mental issues. They found absolutely nothing that
Okay.
helped them with the case. But yeah, I did read that.
But it begs the question though that that could be a way out for somebody that does have information and just can't give in to tell.
Yes.
Which would be really devastating.
Right. This case has got to be solved.
Both of them.
Because either whether the guy's sitting in jail, and if let's say he's not on the radar like we talked before, we've got a very dangerous man out there walking around, who eventually is going to give in to that need to feed.
For sure.
And he's going to end up killing 2 more little girls.
For sure.
And I forgot to ask her. She may have said, but the Evansdale connection, if she thought it was the same guy.
Yeah. I believe she said that she didn't believe it was, but
Yeah. Well, and the police found they said they have no. I think that's the only reason they said that, because they don't have any evidence on that at all.
right.
All right, we'll stick around for about 5 more minutes. We're running into a couple hours here, which is been a good show, and I want to thank everybody for participating with this. If you want to go ahead and give us a call, 205-730-6441.
Interesting what she said about the white car.
Yes. Yeah, and the car at the and man, like I said, I wish I knew my facts better. But I was telling you this, just right off the interstate near the Freedom Bridge to enter to the Mona High Bridge, was a white car.
Right.
And then you got the white SUV with Evansdale. So I don't know if there's any connection with a white SUV with the Delphi Murders.
I think that we've definitely made a case for the fact that if this is two separate, it is two separate events, but if it's two isolated events, that the similarities is like a bolt of lightning coming down and striking me right now.
It's extremely rare, and even the close proximity of it is just, it's astronomical.
I know.
Man. It's hard.
I like what you said earlier, though. You said, I feel like if they find out who did the Delphi, they'll find out who did the other one. I hope that's the case.
Yeah, that would be great for both sets of parents to find.
Absolutely.
I kind of still think there's a connection. You just, it's extremely rare that there's some guy that's targeting in on kids who are between 8 and 14 years old. It's not.
It just happens to find them on a path.
Even your everyday serial killer, it's usually, it's all prostitutes.
Yeah.
Or it's all geriatrics almost because of. I shouldn't say that, but there's even serial killers that are killed. There's these nurses of death.
Right, for sure.
Where they kill these older people, and they go from hospital to hospital, nursing home to nursing home. And so there's a niche. That's what I'm saying. Sure. So it's almost too much of a coincidence that, there's, I think she said 333 miles away. But when you got that need to, to feed that thing, you'll go anywhere.
Right.
And then plus,
if you want to continue to do it, you won't just do you will go 330 miles away. Yeah,
and we just don't know if. God, there's so many possibilities, and it's like, it could be a truck driver who goes to these meat packing places while they're unloading the truck. He's telling them, hey man, I want to go just kind of check out the sites.
There's a good place to go, yeah.
But at the same time, the police had to went to Indiana meat packers and went to the foreman or whoever's the boss and showed the picture of the bridge guy. Hey, has this been any of your truck drivers? Has it been any of the construction workers who are working on the expansion? Right. That was the one I was telling you about. Minivan Traveler had looked through the satellite photos and noticed one car was gone during the murders, shows up the next day.
And there's a white car.
Late.
Yeah.
And then shows up missing again because of and that was actually the same time as the first press conference.
Right.
So who's to know? All right, 2 more minutes, you guys. Come on, give us a call.
Let's go ahead and plug our next show.
And our next show is going to be a gentleman named Ken Arnott who talks about time travel, and not so much a machine, but doing with your mind. If I read that right, is that you read it as well?
He's very well spoken. It's going to be
should be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Don't
especially in the heels of our Single 7 interview.
Yeah, and I want to ask him about that, man, because probably he may say the guy's full of crap because
for sure.
Yeah, I think the guy doesn't believe actually a machine can be built. It's more of a mental travel,
right,
kind of thing.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
But all right. Anyway, listen, we're gonna go ahead and let you guys go. We've been on over 2 hours.
What a great show.
Thank everybody. I
Thank
appreciate everybody for showing up. We are probably going to cover this case a little more. I think it's important to the families that this thing gets solved. I know I have a little show, but you never know. You never know. So anyway, we want to thank everybody.
Have a good night.
For showing up. And be sure to tune in Thursday. You going to be here at 7?
Yep.
It's Thursday, 7 o'clock, time
Which means
travel.
we'll start at 7:30.
Which means, yeah, if Garrett's going to be here at 7, that means 7:30. Anytime we're late, blame it on Garrett.
Single 7, hit us up. That number right there.
That's right, single 7-205-730-6441. We know you're out there. Give us a call. Again, thank you, everybody, for showing up. We will see you Thursday night. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening, and stay tuned.
Boom.